Oh, mate. Fellas, I'm going to have to disappear from Tuesday to Thursday. Okay. I'll be back on Thursday. I'm getting on a flight tomorrow. Probably getting up at 4:30 in the morning tomorrow. And I'm just going to disappear, bro. I have to do it. I'm too online. Sure, I could just go to liturgy that people have been telling me to do. Sure, I could just do something like that. But apparently, I'd rather take a flight somewhere to reconnect with things. Okay, I got a good deal on a flight, so I was looking, and I'm like, you know what? It's flight time. I used to travel more. It's important. It's important to still travel, even though nothing is fun like it used to be. But yeah, so I already wanted to do this stream, but I also wanted Fist to be on this stream, but I didn't want it to be an Ardy and Fist. I wanted it to be a regular stream that I have with Fist as a guest, because I just don't. This is the only time I've heard this conversation with Joel Webbin and Calvin Robinson, specifically about race intersecting with religion, and what better person to have than Fist. And it's the Orthobros really seem to be in tune with the race conversation much more than any other denomination that I see, where they're like, oh yeah, pro-white, that's great, yeah, God comes first, but yeah, pro-white, like your own group, like, yeah, that's fine. I don't know. I go by vibes when it comes to denominations. Fist, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for the invite. Can I plug tomorrow?
Oh, well? Sure.
So tomorrow, instead of Ardy and Fist, you will be missed, Ardy. There's going to be a special stream over on my channel, same time, with Aaron, live from Zebulon 5. I don't know what we're doing. We're going to work it out. But you know,
you can have some fun with the chat, okay? I'll show you how that works today, because whenever I talk about race, I end up engaging with the chat a lot more than I normally do.
So come on over, same usual time as the stream, but over on my channel. It should be fun. We got a snazzy intro and everything, bro. Like, that's how you
to future date the stream.
Sorry?
Are you able to future date the stream? Like how I can send out a stream link like in advance, so then I would be able to send out a YouTube post, and then they would have the link to the stream right there.
Oh yeah, I'll probably like put the stream link up like tomorrow in the morning, I guess, when I get up.
So yeah, just so I can make a post of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. Thanks, man.
Yeah, very cool. All right, fellas, let's wet our whistles a little bit as these heavenly bodies are rolling in. So this guy's an ortho. That's how I speak. He's an archbishop. He's a father. I don't know what words to use. Okay, he's a more important guy than I am in the religious world. Okay, and there's been an influx. This is how I talk when you're not here, Fest. And there's been an influx of quote unquote orthobros, and he's got some things to say about it, and he's gonna say it. Hey, I got a joke for you, Fest. What do you get? What do you get when you cross a black guy with a Christian?
I don't know. What?
Fucking. I'm just kidding. I don't know. There's no end to the joke. I just know that like there's an feeling at the setup of the joke. I haven't landed the dismount of the joke yet. So that's a work in progress. Aren't we all, fellas? Okay, let's get into it.
A lot of people who will hate me from what I'm about to say, but I think it's true. I think Jay Dyer has brought more people into orthodoxy than anybody else here in America in the last 10 years.
And so this is what's incredible to me. Yep. Just between Jay Dyer and Andrew Wilson, okay?
I mean,
we're probably at over 1,000, because it's been like 9 years for Jay Dyer, and I think probably like 6 or 7 years for Andrew Wilson. And even when I watched the Owen Schroyer debate, 2 people in the audience are like, yeah, I convert. Like, the rate of conversion to orthodoxy from non-believers in other denominations is unlike anything I've ever even like heard of, because it's not one person evangelizing and saying like, look at all these people I brought over. It's just plain to see. Like, people will just say like, oh yeah, by the way, thanks for that.
It was Jay Dyer that actually turned me on to orthodoxy.
Really?
Yep, really. Like,
it's gotta be over 1,000.
I was I was starting to get into Christianity, but I didn't know sort of like, where I was going with it. And I was just sort of hanging out in churches a lot. This was like during like COVID, when it became clear to me that there was indeed such a thing as existential evil. I think I've told you this story before, but that's how it sort of worked for me, right? Like once it was clear there was such a thing as existential evil, right? Like not just people being ignorant and not just like, oh my God, like,
we're talking about sucking a 2-day-old's dick and giving it herpes.
Yeah. But like actual existential evil, right? I was like, well, there must be existential good, right? Like them, there must be. And so yeah, I was listening to Jay Dyer because he did Quigley's Tragedy and Hope. He did really, really, really good coverage of Tragedy and Hope. And then I started listening to his other stuff, and I was like, oh, I can get behind that. So yeah,
But I really like how, do I call him Father? What do I call him? I don't know.
Yeah, just call it says in the thing, Father Jonathan.
Father Jonathan.
Father
okay.
Jonathan.
It's weird to call another man father. You understand that, right?
Wait, I'm on the wrong microphone. Thank you, chat. Fucking microphone being like fucking retarded. God damn it.
Yeah, I always keep our audio low so the audio from my headphones doesn't leak into the mic and echo. So you're always at a lower volume from you when I'm listening.
That should be better. I've got
look at you.
Mic, and then I've got the mic that's attached to my computer. And sometimes because my machine is like fucked up, it just switches over. Thank you, chat.
Absolutely.
Right.
No thanks to me on that one. Let's continue.
Now, having said that, and I think it's true, because Jay's been doing this going back to 2017. So he's been doing it for about 9 years. And in 2019, I started to notice people mentioning him. Post COVID, of course, that picked up quite a bit. But I think he's to be credited, quite frankly, for bringing people into orthodoxy. Now, having said that, there will be those who then say, but those he brings in, they're wild, they're unmanageable, they have all these ideas and they're crazy, this, that, and the other thing. That's not Jay's fault. That's the fault of the priest and the parish who is not forming these men who are coming in.
As soon as I heard that, I'm like, I can understand how this happened with William. And he was, it did, especially if it was less than a year.
Okay, so
William,
yeah. So look, what he's talking about specifically, okay, is that you are getting a lot of young men coming into orthodoxy who are very, very opposed to Christianity. Right, this idea that to be a Christian is to just like lay down, spread your buttocks, and just wait for like anyone to like do horrible things to you, right? Because,
okay, so I should not be doing that, is what you're saying.
No, you should. Now I know this is a popular pastime for you, man. I know about that street in Boston where you like to go, right? But you gotta give that up, mate, right?
So what you're saying is I'm gonna have to make a lot of new friends.
That's right. And in a different way, not the kind of friends that you're making in that back alley, man. They don't really love you, Ardy. I know they like give you money and
No, that makes sense. It certainly didn't feel like they did.
and so what you're getting is an influx of people who want a more robust Christianity, right? Who want like an actual sense of identity, a sense of history, and even the Catholics have been completely screwed over since Vatican II in this regard, right? They don't want ecumenism, they don't want perennialism, they don't want this wishy-washy bullshit. They're like, no, all these different ways to God, and really, Islam and Judaism, they're like just as valid. Like what the fuck is that, right? The Muslims and the Moos aren't doing that, right? The Moos aren't going around saying like, oh well, Christianity is just as valid as Moodyism. The Muslims aren't doing that. The Hindus aren't doing that. It's fucking suicidal. So yeah, like some people have been a bit ass hurt about that, I guess.
I have had men like that come to my parish. I have had to deal with it, and it's not a problem. You just have to sit them down and say, okay, whatever you've heard online, now you're going to hear from me as your priest. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to believe. This is how you have to act, and so forth. And if they don't like that, they're going to leave. But to allow someone to come into your church unformed or formed only by the internet, only by by online apologetics, and I don't mean just Jay, because there's a lot of other people online who are at this. I think that to just welcome the people who are coming in and go, oh, this is great, we got all these guys coming in, and do nothing to form them, that's the fault of the priest. And
So this is what I'm saying. I think this may have happened with William. Okay, he seems like he has possibly seen this in other places. Is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you also get a lot of young.
It's like sales. Okay, I'm sorry to put it this way, but it is the best way to do it. These are warm leads. Okay, you get a bunch of warm leads, people that actually already show interest, right? You don't want to be cold calling for Christ. You don't want to be doing Jehovah's Witnesses fucking shit, right? You want warm leads. You want people to come. You need feet in the door, okay? It just seems like orthos are fine being like, oh, this isn't for you if you're not going to follow the rules. And from what I'm understanding is other denominations like, it's cool. Whatever you want to do, just stay here, please. Tithe.
Yeah, but this is also a big problem. Because if you look at like the Protestants particularly, right, they've got like woman priests, they've got like gay priests, they've got like grape juice and bickies on the lawn,
Yeah.
right? Where's the majesty, right? Where's the awe? Where's the vibe? Where's the drip? Right? like you know, like not to get all zoomer on you, right? But like one thing that the orthos and the Catholics absolutely mog the hell out of when it comes to the Protestants is the drip, right? Like it's that you know that aura basically. God, I'm talking like a zoomer, but it's true, right? Like it's true. It has gravitas, right? It's not just, you know, grape juice and bickies on the lawn with like a couple of gays telling everyone to be like vaguely nice, right? It's like proper, you know, old time religion, you know?
Right, but like, so we pee. This is how I interpret this. We pee in a toilet, right? We flush the pee down the toilet. It seems like some people are like, can we just do something different? We've always peed in the toilet and flushed it down. I'm like, yeah, it's always worked. So with like Christianity, sometimes people are like, can't we do it another way? It's like, sure. I'm pretty sure it's been this way for a long time for a reason, though.
You've heard of the concept of Chesterton's fence, right?
Maybe.
Okay, so G.K. Chesterton, the author, great author, right, had this concept that came to be known as Chesterton's fence. And the idea is that you're in the countryside, you come across a fence, right? Nobody knows why the fence is there. It was put up like hundreds of years ago, okay? And so some progressive comes along and is like, oh, we should tear down this fence. But the thing is, the fence was there for a reason. Even if everyone forgot what the fucking reason was, it was still there, right? Traditions are solutions to problems that, because they have been solved, have like passed into history. And then every so often you get a bunch of tards coming around being like, oh, we should just like destroy everything. We don't need traditions. And then all of society like lights itself on fire. I mean, a lot of Christian history, like in the Bible, is a bit like that, basically, right? Like, think of all of the civilizations that died out, right? You have survivorship bias, right? The civilizations that survived because they have rules, morals, all this kind of stuff that contribute to the continuation of that civilization, right? Because all of the civilizations that are like, we don't need no rules, man, they're all dead, aren't they? Right? It's like what's happening to the West when no one's having kids. Like, you can have all the liberalism you want, right? You can have all the women's rights that you want. You can have all of that kind of stuff. But if everyone stops fucking having kids, doesn't matter how fucking liberally correct your ideals are, you can't continue the fucking civilization.
Absolutely.
Can't complain about anybody else if he is not doing what he is supposed to do to take these men and correct what the internet may have corrupted in them. Now, I know that's not, a lot of priests out there might be, you know, now throwing things at their screen at me and things like that. I don't care. This is our fault if we are not forming these men the way they need to be formed. I used to teach guys that were people. I used to teach people coming in. I would start with the creed, but I realized a couple of years ago, I got to start with prayer. I got to start with fasting and almsgiving and the virtues and doing good works and things like.
Even just materially, even if you don't believe, if you do those things, it's just going to make you a better person. It's just going to improve your life materially. Even the tiny amount of prayer that I've done with the fellas, even the tiny fraction that I've dipped my toe, and I already like fasting. I already like all these things. Just the believing is difficult.
Yeah, well, again, as I was saying to you before the show, faith is not just this thing that sort of comes to everybody suddenly, right?
But it is for the Protestants.
Well, yeah, but they're retarded, right? And I would argue, right, that faith
number go up. Good, they get more people.
That comes suddenly, right? Like the evangelicals is likely to leave just as quickly, right? Like a drug addict who's like, who wakes up and is like, I'm gonna quit all of my drugs, right? Like, you must have known people like that. Well, what happens to them?
No, or if you're banging a girl who already has a boyfriend and it's like, haha, she'd never do that to me.
Right. So faith takes a while to build, like, because the fact of the matter is, right, for anyone sane, you have to be slowly convinced of your faith, right? You have to take on a little bit, things improve a bit. You're like, oh, this is actually like good. It's doing good things for me, right? That then strengthens your faith. You do more of it, right? Things improve more. Your faith like grows. It's not like this, like, bolt of lightning for heaven where you wake up one morning, you're like, as a believer, feet don't fail me now.
Is that your impression of the guy on the right side of the screen by any chance?
that's my impression of Justin Pearson.
No. Oh my God.
My feet is on fire.
Point his finger in that guy's face and get right in his face. He's been acting uppity again, but he
has very uppity.
Like that. And if they then start doing all of that, then I'll let them become a catechumen. But they have to start all of this first before I'm going to admit them as a catechumen. They've got to have a right, I love this word, phronema. They've got to have the right mindset if they're going to become an Orthodox Christian. They just can't come in as a quote unquote orthobro, whatever the hell that means, by the way. I mean, I know what it means, but people kind of throw that term around at anybody they don't like coming into the Orthodox Church. I've kind of noticed that too. Okay, having said that, let's talk about what is meant by orthobro. Now, if I were to ask people in the comment section right now or something like that, what do you mean by orthobro? I think there'd be a lot of...
It's incredible. This sounds like how Andrew Wilson would debate someone that was calling people orthopro. He would go, what do you mean by that? And can you give me an example of a person? It really is incredible how it seems like a lot of these fundamental epistemological inquiries go all the way up the holy ladder.
So Nick raises an interesting point. I was talking to you about this before the show as well, right? That, it is inherent in Christianity, this idea that the Spirit will descend on people suddenly, right? And that, God will touch people and become prophets and all this kind of other stuff. The problem is, I guess, who determines the difference between the prophet and the faker or the person who is mistaken, right? You need like a church or something for that. I mean, look, I don't want to say that like conversion can't be sudden. It's just, for me, it wasn't. Okay, right? For me, it was a gradual process. It took years.
I feel like it would be for most people, right? That's why I'm trying to explore this process, and that's why when I see rhetoric of like people just need to convert, or when they like say it to me, I'm just like, you this is creating atheists. It's very pushy. It's kind of vapid what they're saying. They're saying things that are contradictory to other believers. The ortho is just it's as if you guys have a group chat and you're like, our strategy is to tell people to go to liturgy and say that you're praying for them. It's like this unified message. It's the messaging with the ortho bros is way more unified than other denominations.
It's weird you talk about like the ortho group chat, because it almost like there is like not an actual group chat, but like you just, I don't know, man. I just wind up like gravitating towards people who are orthos, even if I don't know, right? Like there's a bunch of people I like, started talking to, I get to know them.
Trust me, they're like, oh, you're very ortho vibes.
they're like, oh, you're Orthodox. I'm like, wait, you're Orthodox? I had no idea. You know, I don't know. It's nice. I've never been a big joiner of stuff traditionally.
Yeah, same.
But the Orthodox Church has been very good for me personally, right? You know, just saying.
Let's just get this out of the way. Dongus Riga, mate, for $2. Have you seen African pastors and their miracles? I bet they're very impressive, like their helicopters and their bridges. Bet they're very miraculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of really scammy stuff in African Christianity, as you can imagine. I mean, not exclusively. Like, the weird thing about the Anglican Church, right, is there's now more Anglicans in Africa than there are in England, right? So when the Anglican Church just elected like a female archbishop, and the rest of the Anglican Communion, particularly the African ones, are like, we do not believe that you can have a female archbishop. This is a heresy. They're like, they're all the base like Nigerians and stuff. This is heresy. Your priests, they eat the poo-poo.
That was their choice to make that video, okay? And then he goes, is this what Barack Obama wants as a human right, to eat the poo-poo? To which the crowd says, no!
Oh, God.
Would have been a great wrestler.
Different definitions, but there would be some sort of coalescing around the idea of an arrogant young man who thinks he knows it all and probably has never been to an Orthodox church. So it's all up here and none of it is right here.
Oh!
And I think that's the problem that we're facing. Now, having said that, I don't quite frankly think there's a lot of Orthobros out there. And if they're only on the internet, who cares? I don't care about the people who are on the internet. I care about the people who are coming through the front doors of our parishes. And specifically, I care about the people who are coming through the front doors of my church.
Now that is pivotal to me. I care about what's around me and who's around me. That's see, and this is where we start to see a delineation of what's the hierarchy of communities, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Your closest inner circle, and then the more that circle expands out. But he explicitly says that, like, I care about my church. There's universalism in Christianity, sure, kind of, but with the orthos, there's a definitive hierarchy to this universalism, it seems like, and that I want to explore more in just the meshing of Christ and race.
And you notice as well, he talks explicitly about the stuff in your head versus the stuff in your heart.
Oh yeah,
which I was sort of talking to you about before the show as well. Like, there's that whole vibes based layer. It's very important.
Now, having said that, if I ask people, and I've asked people repeatedly on the internet, on Facebook and elsewhere, who are you talking about that is an Orthobro? I can't get them to pin down anybody by name. So the Orthobro is this sort of amorphous blob of humanity out there that has no name, that has no face, but is just thrown around as a term, and a pejorative term at that.
Love it. Just from top to bottom, love that video. Now, fellas, I had said we covered that angle. Now let's cover a different angle. I noticed, I'm like, where are these race realist like debaters? Like, where are these classic race realism like debates? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of, especially in the age of debates right now, I don't see a lot of it. And someone had sent me, Martinez Politic did a debate against Andrew Wilson. Now, this is only a minute and 50 seconds. I managed to find a half an hour of it, and we're just going to watch a couple of clips for me to kind of engage with why it's really difficult for me to be on board with the race first, God second people. It's pretty much going to be two camps we're talking about. Race first, God second, God first, race second. Okay? Also,
we got Made by Jim Bob in the chat and Focus Trip. Howdy, guys. Thanks for coming along.
God. Oh, fellas. I suppose, the title, I don't really do Christ-centric streams very often, so I suppose that is something. But so here we go.
It could also be GMOs. It could also be GMOs. It could be
Right.
many different things that contribute to the increase in the low testosterone level in men, especially men in the West. But my overarching concern, more than anything else, is that people aren't having children. I don't understand why that needs to be.
So I was saying a pro-natalist perspective even before I was pretty much watching Andrew Wilson. So I've always thought to myself, even just logically, materially, you have to start with a pro-natalist standpoint. And the issue I've had with race first, biological determinists, let's say, they're like, oh yeah, well, I'd rather die out than have a mixed race kid. And then what is a mixed race kid? And then they're like, I mean, and then it's a different answer, right? It's not cohesive. It's not coherent. It's what I was saying with what I see with Made by Jim Bob and with Jay Dyer and Andrew Wilson. What are you appealing to? With
Right,
the race
but
first people, what are
also-
you appealing to? And what is
The
it
thing,
leading?
the thing that really gets me about that whole thing is like, what about love? Right? Like
This is
like,
very
like,
a
what-
very
like, what-
Eurocentric idea to not have
like
forced
what if
marriages.
you what if you meet a girl, like, you know, which is freaking hard enough in this day and age, right? Like, oh my god, I'm so glad I'm not on the dating market. I would just
Oh, I just removed myself. Oh, I
Right?
just removed myself.
like you know, oh, you meet some girl, you fall in love with her, you know, she's like awesome, and you're like, oh look, I'm sorry, we can't have babies, you're too brown.
You done
like
fucked.
like
Sorry,
like,
baby. God
seriously,
made a mistake with you.
you just be like, no, I gotta like wait for some other like woman to come along. She might be like a complete bitch and steal all my fucking money and like destroy my life, but at least she was white.
Well, right, but like white, but what is the culture? So, for example, I've made this point a couple of times now where Europeans don't have anything to appeal to culturally to keep themselves white. They don't have forced marriages. I think like aristocrats or like royalty would have arranged marriages. They don't really have assisted marriages. There's nothing culturally, like, it's very European love for the sake of love. It's actually a rather European thing. So they don't have anything to appeal to. So if, I'm trying to help them, if they want to do race first, God second, they would have to do what other cultures do and create a culture and community that your offspring wouldn't want to leave. Think of all the benefits you get as a moo child. And you're like,
yeah.
I could go, I don't want to lose all of this. Same thing with Indians. You know, we get the higher caste Indians that come here, but I mean, you see how they give each other free loans and stuff, like interest-free loans and stuff like that. You would be losing so much if you left the community. And so with the race first people, I'm like, oh, I mean, you could have a white daughter, but how are you going to stop her from fucking a black guy? You're going to tell her not to? That's like the first thing you don't find. Like, it's a trope. Like, it's guess who's coming to dinner. Okay. You have nothing to appeal to stop your offspring from race mixing.
And not only that, right? Like, you know, if she's brought up in like modern world and you say, listen, I don't want you dating a black guy, right? She'll be like, well, I'm going to date him twice as harder, you know, just to prove like you're such a racist. Like,
this is like a trope at this point, right?
Yeah, totally.
So you would need something like Return to the Land, right? That is your community. Why would you want to lose the benefits of that community? That would work. In terms of like, yeah, I mean, you're not getting all of these benefits that we have, this actual community. And so it's like it's a bunch of people that live libertarian that think they're in a collective. It's a bunch of these individuals that feel like they're a part of like a white diasporic community, but it's not an actual community where you're like giving and sharing resources.
Specified specifically to whites as a categorization, because the problem is fast becoming a global phenomenon that's going to affect the East Asian nations and already is. Because it's affecting the Western nations as well. It's affecting everybody.
Well, I'll tell you why, because I'm not East Asian, so I don't really care what their birth rates are. I don't.
Every time. It's the race first pro whites will go, I don't care. Which is just not like, I understand that you don't care, okay? but you are always going to be unbelievably fringe and really difficult to explain politically to a mass audience. We just care about ourselves, and we'll just die off if we have to mix it up. This is what's been bothering me because it doesn't lead to a victory in any game theory.
Not only that, right? Like where the West has to be acknowledged, right? Like
Yes.
the facts on the ground. The facts on the ground is mass immigration has happened, right? Like, you know, everyone, well, I don't know. I certainly wish it never did happen. Okay.
Right.
There are a lot of things I wish had not happened to the West.
They're
but
way too. So
they
what's
have.
really frustrating is that on one hand they'll talk about genetics and facts and science, but then on the other hand they're 100% ideological with their prescriptions and how they want things to go in society. It's like there's not a middle ground to make it come to fruition.
I don't care what African birth rates are. Their birth rates could drop to 0, and I wouldn't care.
Why?
They're not my people.
What do you mean
So
they're
why-
not people? They're human beings, aren't they?
They're what? But they're not white. So why should I care if they have a high birth rate or not? In fact, their high birth rate is a detriment to Europe because they're going to overrun us.
Are you a
And
Christian, sir?
Hang on a second. You see them coming into Europe on boats,
Mhm.
you know, by the thousands, and they're flooding in. I just played a clip on my stream the other day of this guy who runs the charity for Bono. You know, Bono, the UK singer or the U2 singer.
Mhm.
He says that Europeans are becoming senile because of our demographics, because we're aging populations, and we need the energetic youth of the Africans. And it's good that they're flooding into Europe, and this is great.
Now, this is what happens. Me and you and Andrew Wilson, we all disagree with that. We all don't like that is said. It's how that energy is manifested is where the difference is coming from. He's explaining this like it's a compelling point, and it's like, oh, we don't. So then what? You're just going to play into their hand and like seclude yourself with no political power at all whatsoever?
I mean, like where? Right? Like where is this magical place where the people engineering mass immigration will leave you alone? Right? I think it has become pretty clear at this point, right? That like even if you go out into the middle of the fucking
you've told me about that in the UK, how they keep trying to move away, and it's
yeah, no, exactly, right? They are literally trying to kill you all. Now, I mean, what are you going to do at this point, right? Like, I'm not. I know there's a few people in chat like, you're like standing for race mixing. It's not really that.
We'll get to that position.
It's just that, right? The facts on the ground have to be acknowledged, number one. And number two, as you pointed out, Ardy, why is it that like no one thinks of the fact that you can bleach populations? Why,
genes only get darker, they never get whiter. I didn't know genes work that way.
Which
will be covered with the Joel Webbin and Calvin Robinson conversation.
So I like at the moment, right? The way I think it works is this. Okay, you've got to prioritize stuff, and the number one priority is that you've got to have kids. You have to have a population that shares your values, right? Would obviously it be preferable that
yes,
you had a white wife and stuff, like, yes, but have you seen white women recently, right? Like, they're being targeted. We're gonna cover
this. There's a huge influx of white Christian men marrying Hispanic women, and I think we all understand why. They understand patriarchy. They like that.
I mean, what device could you even use to rein in white women at this point, right? You would have to completely
Dude, I'm sorry, it feels mooish. It just feels so mooish.
You'd have to dismantle the government. You'd have to like dismantle like a significant part of the United Nations. You'd have to get rid of like, and then even if you did that, you would still have all these fucking unmarried 40-something wall-hitting harpies, like basically recreating the entire suffragette movement like every fucking 10 years, right? You'd have to go back to something like Islam, or like not Islam, but like old school Christianity. Now, I wouldn't be necessarily against that, but how would that actually happen, right? Like how is this magical situation to be brought about, right? Like if anyone's got like concrete suggestions, I'm all for it, right?
Oh,
But,
well, let me give you a concrete suggestion right here.
Ethnos, since there is no ethnos, it's always been multicultural since inception. We've had blacks here since inception. There is no homeland for blacks in the United States. This is the way that this country is set now. There's nothing that can be done about it. It is a multicultural, multi-ethnic nation. I don't like the fact that it's multi-ethnic. I'd love to see a singular ethnicity, but what could that be? It's not going to be along racial lines. There's not enough whites, and they're not having babies. They're being replaced. It's staggering numbers because they're not having babies. So what would you like to see happen exactly?
Well, look, I'm not American, so I can't tell you what to do, but my solution would be to separate the races along ethnic lines in the country somehow.
So
May
you
I
want
ask
segregation?
Martinez? Oh,
Hang on, Pedro. You want segregation? This is what your answer is?
Yeah, just like it was segregated under Jim Crow, it was segregated in the past. It was segregated in South Africa. It was segregated in many Western countries. And so why not go back to that?
So you think that if like a
there's
black
precedent
person,
for that.
if a black person shows up at a white hospital, you're not going to treat them if the doctors just don't want to?
Well, actually, they're doing. I wouldn't, but they're actually doing that with white people now. They're saying white people need to be kicked to the bottom of the list. We got to treat POCs first, and they're doing that with this COVID stuff. They're doing that in hospitals. So we're seeing white people being degraded and disenfranchised in the West, and that's only going to increase the more cultural and political power that non-whites have. Unquestionably,
There's no doubt that the identitarians are attacking identitarians. I have no doubt about that. I've seen it firsthand many times. I'm not even arguing that. What I'm asking you is a moral question. If you're saying that you think it's perfectly acceptable for a black person to show up at a hospital who needs care and for somebody based on their skin color to tell them no.
Well, they wouldn't be in our area anyway, so it wouldn't happen.
What do you mean they wouldn't be in your area? You think that even under segregation that they wouldn't be in your area?
Because we would stop them from entering our area. It would be simple.
Do you see the mindset that I'm talking about with the biodeterminists? Okay.
I mean,
Very difficult to engage with.
Look, I am all for segregation, like really.
Yes,
right?
Obviously.
I just don't
Implementation, the messaging, the political ability to do so. How do we get there? We just fucking fuck them. They fucking suck. We fucking hate them. We want them to fucking die. I'd sit there and watch them die while eating Fritos.
I just don't think they'll let us alone. Is the thing, right? Like, yeah. I mean, this is what, like, if you set up like an all white thing somewhere, right? They'll be rocking up and being like, shit, it's really nice around here, right? Of course it's nice because there aren't any of you people there. And then say you want to enforce this with force of arms, okay? The current US government and the current, setup of most of the state governments, I think, would probably go to war to prevent that from happening. Now, I don't know. That might change at some point. I don't know. But I think at the moment, if you tried to, I don't know, set up a white-only state, for example, like say, I don't know, New Hampshire, right? Like decided to secede from the Union, right? And be like, right, that's it. We're going 100% white. Does anyone really think like the federal government would not attempt to invade and crush that state? And
well, this is the thing with return to the land. And I've never talked shit about return to the land. They have their own rules that they've made up, and they're actually doing it. And they're like, yeah, you guys can go and do whatever you want. Please leave us alone. We're building something over here. I don't know how I can disagree with that. But then we have like the Groypers calling them trailer trash and stuff like that, and not like assisting with that. I don't even know what to think of. Is Nick Fuentes a SIFNAT?
Yeah, I think so. Although I think that it's entirely possible that people who have only ever grown up in ninja hell, right, think that's how everything is, right? Like those of us who aren't like old enough to remember the before times and what it was actually like to grow up in a white society, right? Like that's just how it is, right? It makes them sort of inevitably.
I used to be an asshole, and that would get me pussy, Fist. Do you understand how much I enjoy being an asshole and how much I used to enjoy pussy? I'm never getting those years back. Never. It was incredible. There would be women that would hit me up on Facebook to hang out. Okay. That's wild. But then I had to go and start talking about the blacks. Here's what you guys have to realize. I chose shitting on black people over pussy, okay? I was noticing things. My heart is always going to be with the race issue. You need to realize that. That's what started me on this journey in the first place.
Should we do some super chats?
See, you can't even resist. Look at him just taking over my show over here. He's the guest. All of a sudden, he's a co-host. Yeah, again.
It's your show.
Yes. The new GM for $10. A buttery kippa is what an African preacher uses to perform the miracle of creating time. Not a future, creating the present, if you want to be accurate.
Yeah.
Leaf Man with a frying pan, $5. Thank you. Mark 9:38 to 40 is an important passage regarding institutional authority. Jesus allows a teacher unaffiliated with his group to teach in his name. Very interesting. Actually, I'll ask you after. Campfire, $10. Thank you. Watch 100 Proofs by Truth Vids. Very long doc, but has a strong academic foundation critiquing Moodyism in modern Christian denominations using ancient literature. Debukes Moose, Kangs, and Universalism. Ooh, and Universalism, but then it can't be Christianity without that. Everyone's the exact same, apparently. To the chickens, $2. The West used to have a dowry system way back. What's a dowry system?
Dowry is when you get paid when you marry a woman. So if you have a daughter and you marry her off, you give sort of payment basically. And it's mainly because women used to sort of be an economic drain. So that's how you get all your daughters married off.
Very nice. Thank you. James Long, 1488. Thank you, bud. I'm a 22-year-old diesel tech from the Midwest, and I've been watching y'all for a while. I decided to donate for the first time. There's plenty of us out there. Love what y'all are doing. God bless.
Aw.
Publicly, I get a lot of backlash when I talk about race. Privately, a lot of people are like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, which means that I need to do it even more. I don't enjoy, you might not believe this, I don't enjoy pissing people off, okay? I just know it's going to happen. It's almost like if I go into a black neighborhood, I know I'm going to be robbed. I don't want to be robbed. I don't want that outcome to happen.
You could have fooled me, mate. It does seem like you get a certain amount of enjoyment from knowing people. Just saying.
Those are sad laughs. Sometimes I laugh when I'm sad. Okay. All right, let's sink our teeth.
Are you like the Indian in that famous the famous highway commercial where there's
the
trash
single
on
tier
the side of the road? The single tier.
Yeah. Hey, if you cry laughing, you're still crying. Okay, that's the only way I can cry is through laughing.
Ardy looks around and sees the state of the white man. A single tear falls from his eye, like water from the buffalo.
I just think we have strong genes, is all I'm saying. I think they're very durable. They've been around for a while. As we're going to learn, you see this black lollipop over here with his big old fro? Calvin Robinson. Now, he has 1,000 years of English blood in him, but he's a shit skin. How does that work? Let's find out.
Our first episode, and you know what we're about to talk about. I'm going to give it to you, Calvin, to lead us off.
Well, we discussed the issue of the Mohammedans, of the Jews, but I want to know, what is America going to do about the blacks? The black problem.
The age-old question.
Right. Because I came to this country, I thought, there's a united American people, but quite quickly it became clear there's not.
Yes.
There's an issue here of two cultures living in one land. And it seems to me that most Americans don't dislike African Americans. I think most Americans, this came to me a while ago, that most...
Now, I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this nice and slow for you. He starts this off with such an amazing burn, okay? In Calvin's opinion, the way that people from the UK look at Americans in general is the way that white Americans look at black Americans. They look at us as lower class, defunct English people. I love it.
Most Americans see African Americans the way that Brits see Americans. Like, not the same social etiquette, louder, brasher, just inherently annoying, but not their fault. It's their culture, right? Most Brits would look down their noses at the average American. You can tell the average American when they're walking through London just by their gait, never mind when they open their mouth.
Right.
And it's not a hatred of Americans. It's just they're not conforming to our social etiquettes, whether it's wearing caps inside or, speaking with an outside voice inside, whatever, using cutlery.
I laughed out loud when I heard him say speaking with an outside voice inside, and I went, outside voice? I mean, make that rule all the time.
Australians get that too, right? Like Australians are very American in that same way, sort of rambunctious, very forward, quite brash.
Yeah, when I was in Mexico, I met an Australian guy there, and he talks about like taking the piss, and it's like they just casually say the word piss.
Yeah.
That's just a regular like thing to say. All right.
The wrong way. And I think African Americans are like that to your average American, in that it's not their fault. They just have a social etiquette that's different to yours, a culture that's different to yours.
Speaking with an outside
annoying.
voice, that makes me think. I saw a meme that said, silence, a black woman is speaking. And then the guy's response was, yeah, but could we at least wait till the movie's over? That's a classic. Yeah. So, okay. So you're saying culture. Let's get into that a little bit because
also, bless Joel Webbon's heart for actually trying to take the reins of Protestantism and making it JQ. It has to be done, right?
Listen, man, the Protestantism is JQ because of Luther, right? Because Martin Luther, at the end of his life, he wrote that book on the Moors and their lies, right? He was, him and the sort of founding Protestants hung out a lot with like the rabbis, and the rabbis sort of gulled them on the Masoretic text, right? Which was their translation of the Hebrew Bible. And they assured like Luther, oh yes, right, like we're going to convert. We're like, no. And then by the end of his life, he realized he'd been scammed and he got very, very angry. So to this idea that Protestantism is fundamentally...
Yeah, but what percentage of Protestants nowadays would you say are JQ?
Oh, well, very few. As far as I can tell,
minority.
It's
right?
just the trad Lutherans, right? But see, again, there's just been an incredible amount of pressure and social engineering and general like fuckery. I mean, shit, man, they even managed to like get the Catholics. So it's yeah.
Of course, it's culture.
But when did that start? Because
people make culture.
Yeah, I look at American films from back in the day, and I don't know how true this is because I see it from the outside. But the African Americans were well dressed, well spoken, Christian. It seemed like there was a bit of segregation, but maybe that's why.
Can you understand Calvin Robinson's stupid black jigaboo speak? Do you need to translate anything? Because he's a black guy talking. So I mean,
all I hear are jungle noises, mate. Right, like
right. You're not missing much. I mean, he's a stupid black,
Can't understand a word he's saying, mate. Like, where did they dig this dude up from? Right? Did they like ship him in from Guinea-Bissau? Is that even English he's speaking? Goodness me.
With an afro. Unbelievable with this guy.
Culture. I don't know. Maybe there was a hierarchy.
In 1950, the rate of family abandonment and divorce among black families was the equivalent of today's white families. Which is to say, I mean, it was higher then. White families had much higher rates then, but still what it was demonstrating is that there was a significant amount of moral adherence compared to what it is today. Right. I think now it's 64% of black households don't have a father.
No, I think it's like 75.
It might be higher. Yes, it might be higher than that. So there's it's an unbelievable number of abandoning fathers. And so we do have a problem.
I love these. It's every time. He considers himself non-white bro, but sure, race mixing is no big deal. Everyone considers everybody that's majority white, that's a little bit not white, to be non-white bro. Okay? That's kind of the criticism. Is that somebody can be 75% white, but if they don't look like it, well, then you also don't consider them to be white. And then you say, haha, consider them to be white, but genetics and genes are a real thing. And I say, aha, but if they're 75% white, aren't they technically white? Nah, no, but they're mixed. And then I go, aha, Barack Obama is black, according to most people, and not just mixed. So it's this Mott and Bailey circular argument that usually happens, okay?
I mean, look, I this thing about the rate of fatherlessness in the American Black community is brought up a lot. But it's endemic everywhere, right? It's a result of like feminism, generally speaking. It's a result of the reform of family law, no fault divorce, all of these like kinds of things, right, that have been advanced under this liberalist frame to like make everyone like a more perfect individual, right? And okay, it sounds great, but it's killing society. And there just seem to be so many people who are just like, they care much more about their fancy ideas than the effects on the ground. And I think it's just accelerating. I think like giving women suffrage made it worse. Admitting women to like positions of power made it worse. And all the arguments I hear are like, oh, but my human rights and this and that. It's like, yeah, but you're gonna get invaded and taken over by the Mohammedans. Is that what you want, right? And then they're like, well, we just need to teach the Mohammedans human rights. Dude, it's not.
Yeah. When they abuse a minor, they go, "Oh, don't do that." This is embarrassing. I'm sorry about that. I just didn't know.
So well, you had a sexual emergency. Right?
God. So this person says, so mindfuck yourself into being deracinated while non-whites have no illusions. Great. This only hurts if you actually have a last name that's being passed down generationally. Because what are you passing down? Even if you're two whites that have a kid. Hey, my parents are two whites that had a kid. Nothing was passed down to me. It only counts like it's generational. It's not just the next generation. The God people seem to have a much clearer picture of things being a continuum. The race first people really think that it's just the next generation and then somehow it just stops and like fixes itself. But this is a mentality that has to be passed on from generation to generation. And so like people used to have last names and a family crest. Your family used to mean something. That doesn't happen anymore. And now we just have this. I love the idea that I have like an association, right? And, I'm not just a YouTuber that's talking about things. Somehow I'm creating mixed babies by saying these things out loud, dude. The precious narrative of the white purity, if that is attacked, if I'm just talking about it and, I don't know, exploring ideas like I do with everything else, the responses that I get are so mystifying to me. But let's continue this a little bit.
In America, nobody's willing to talk about it because, again, especially the Christians, especially whites. Right. And unfortunately, we, our guy that could have been really having a great headway, Vodi Bakum, on this discussion, the Lord took him home. And so there's not many people out there. I mean, we have Thomas Sowell, you have, Clarence Thomas, you have some of these great black men in society, but there's really not many black men that I know of. And I count myself pretty informed on this particular topic that are willing to have this conversation theologically, biblically, carefully, morally. And so it's a certain need.
Well, we know if a family breaks down before a kid reaches 18, that kid is twice as likely to end up in prison, on drugs, or in crime.
And of course, this is because the culture is degenerate, right? Now, there could be communities that you live in that aren't degenerate. And why would that happen if they're not in a degenerate society? For some reason, in societies across the West, it might be the media that's played. It might be the fact that they can't form a bond over other things. I just think it's incredible how if you don't have the influence of a man a man in your life, it drives you crazy. I think that's also a sign of how sick society is.
Oh yeah, I mean, like stuff is really really bad. I don't know how possibly to pull out of it. It's one of the reasons why I guess I'd say I'm sort of like a soft accelerationist in the sense that I don't really think that the people pushing liberalism will be disabused of that notion until shit gets really bad because they're so caught up in it, right? And it's become non-falsifiable, right? Every failure of liberalism can be fixed by more liberalism, right? Like this is the way it seems to work. It's a bit like the way like communism worked in the USSR, right? Like every
Right.
bad outcome
That's
just needs more communism.
That's
right?
not
Like
true. The only time that works is genetically, where the more whites that fuck something, the whiter it gets. Actually, that's what that actually does happen generationally, which they do cover in this conversation. But hold on. So your genetic code was passed down from two whites. Your mixed race kids would be less genetically similar than a random, like, you are half your dad and half your mom. Okay. You are more your father and grandfather than you are this grand notion of race from 1,000 years ago. Okay. You have traits that are mainly from your father and grandfather.
no,
This-
I
yeah.
gotta push back on this. This
Sure.
Anon is correct, right? Like this is the big problem with miscegenation is you do get significant genetic distance. Now, this is why they've been saying like mixed race kids have like identity issues. You could argue there's like, if you believe that behavior descends from genetics, you therefore get essentially like two kinds of genetics like clashing within people. I don't disavow any of that, by the way, right? I'm just trying to be realistic in my take on this, right? And number one. And also like you can, you can, I guess you can bleach your way out of it, is what I'm saying, right? It'll never be perfect, but things on the ground are far from perfect, is what I'm getting. Like if this was 1950, right, and the internet existed, or 1960 something, right, and they were debating the Hart-Celler Act, okay, but they still got the Hart-Celler Act through, right? People didn't vote on whether to have the Hart-Celler Act. Now, you might say, well, the solution to that is to get rid of the people who push the Hart-Celler Act. Okay. How are you going to accomplish that? Like, yeah.
I know, but I think it's funny that like the concept of your child not really being related to you because they're mixed race. By the way, mixed race means, are we including Hispanic?
Well, I was about to say this, right? If you date like a Hispanic woman, right, and she's half Spanish and half mestizo, okay,
Yeah,
and she has a child with you, then I don't know how the numbers like stack up.
Me neither.
Right?
But just know mixing is bad. We have to keep it pure, even though no one does a genetic test. And when anyone brings up IQ, nobody is trying to fuck a smart woman. Okay. You want your wife to be a 102 IQ. Okay. I don't know who the fuck is fucking for intelligence. Okay.
Someone in the chat, I'm Calizo, not mestizo. What is that? Is that sounds like a particularly delicious kind of sausage, a Calizo. I'm thinking. Look, I just want to point out, right? Like, this is a very, very messy situation that we are all in, okay? And quite frankly, I don't think there is like one, I don't know, solution to it. Quite frankly, right? If there was a really simple solution to it, right? Like, okay, tomorrow all the whites in the US up sticks and move to like, a couple of states and they like barricade themselves in. Is that likely to happen? I don't see it happening. I don't know. Look, I don't want to see fucking blue eyes go extinct. I don't want to see ginger hair go extinct. I don't want to see like any of these like things go extinct.
They're
right?
recessive genes.
They're recessive genes.
These are over the course of generations. These things come and go. These traits. Okay, this is why this conversation is always so silly to me. Where it's like we're all going to turn to the same color. There's so many examples of people going from black to white over generations. Okay, so many examples.
Yeah,
it really depends on who you make.
I know some people that are like that. You know what I mean, right? Like you can barely tell. Like,
yes, right.
I don't know, man.
Purity thing. So someone asks, why is this subject so damn important, Ardy? Because no one talks about it, and there's not really. It's not settled. People think this is settled. It's really not, because then when you go to talk to them about it, as I've tried to do, oh, I get a lot of pushback, but I also get a lot of different answers. I tried to bring people up, talk to them last time, and it's people not agreeing. I'm just it's not as laid out as you think it is, and it usually crumbles under a modicum of questioning.
Are
Let's
you
just continue.
saying, Ardy?
It's actually really complicated. No, it fucking isn't at all.
You have the co-host of the show. It's unbelievable.
Acts like I own the fucking place.
Master Shake hits you with racially defective every time.
Crime of some degree. We know those statistics, regardless of race. So why is it more prevalent amongst black people?
Biology has to come into the conversation. Like, I think that's part of the problem. I'm happy to be the bad guy, and you guys can push back and disagree. But I think the problem with conservatives for quite a while now is that, I'm a conservative. I've read the FBI statistics that are, even the FBI statistics are skewed. Look at all the pictures, like white. It's like Wesley Snipes, white,
right.
and so even the FBI statistics are actually far worse if they were honest. And so because it's so apparent, the conservative will acknowledge the disparity in terms of crime, in terms of, all these different things. But they always speak to culture. And I feel like there's a negligence of, like, culture doesn't appear out of the ether. Culture doesn't hang in midair. People make culture. Culture comes from someone, not just somewhere, but someone. And I acknowledge, and I'd love if we can get back to this. And I think there actually are some solutions. But I acknowledge that blacks, I believe, were, you look at America's history, they were progressing, they were developing, they were maturing, and coming along in incredibly positive ways. But I think part of that,
100% because of Christianity. If you watch Larry Elder's Uncle Tom 2, they were on the path of doing that until the Moos and the commies.
Yes, well, the blacks being like all together and shit did not benefit the Moos in any way, shape, or form. It seems like.
I'll quote Nick Fuentes on this. I think he's right. He's not right about
This was recorded not recently. This was recorded a couple weeks ago. All right.
everything, but I like him, and I think he's right about more than people would be willing to give him credit for. He said that one of the reasons why blacks were improving is because there was a humility. That, like, rather than entitlement,
right? There
was a humility. Blacks had this general sense of we're the minority. The country was not built on the back of slavery. The country was built by Europeans. We are, in many ways, a second-class citizen, and we are going to work our butts off to prove that that we're every bit as good as any. So there was like a black pride, but not the black pride that we have today of like some rapper. I'm proud that I knocked up 17 different women, and proud that I shot up this house. No, it was like I'm not going to give in to the stereotype. It was like a black pride of like.
They essentially were saying we need to make ourselves less retarded.
Yeah,
essentially is what they were saying in much nicer, godlike language. But they were emphasizing working hard. They were building their own institutions. And when I say own institutions, white people didn't want to fuck with them. So they started building their own shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Coffee got $5. Thank you. James Lindsay was wrong jar +5. I don't think that's one of the available jars. I've only seen the James Lindsay was right jar. Interesting.
We better make one, mate.
Jam RS for $20, mate. Thank you, my dude. Sorry I'm late. Could you restart the stream so I can see the video in its entirety so I don't get the wrong impression and become racist? Become racist? Okay, fellas. Miscegenation, okay? But it's raping. Is that better? Okay.
Very important there. Very important request there from Jam. We wouldn't want people to accidentally listen to this stream and then wake up the next morning being a racist. That would be terrible.
Oh yeah, I'm just totally lib cucked. Here's what I think makes people really sad. They're like, Ardy, you're pretty good at being racist, racial jokes and whatnot, but you have to have this opinion. I know. Unfortunately, I'm really, really good at being racist on top of it. Do you think that's an accident? Do you think I just so happened? You don't think I've already felt the frustration that you've already felt for a very long time? That's how it's funny, because it ain't funny if it's not going to be funny. Humans, VD, $5, thank you. Until you remove universal suffrage, correct. Mostly the XX vote. this problem will not be solved. Also, very solid orthobro rhetoric from Andrew Wilson. Very much agreed upon. But do you see how he positions it? They're like, you don't want women to vote. And does he go, you're right. He goes, I don't want a lot of men to vote either. Do you see how that's a very good statement to make politically? Even if his motives are to get women to stop voting, do you see how well that works politically? That's what I'm trying to say. The political messaging of the race for it's like unbelievably fringe. And then as soon as it even like touches the mainstream, they don't have that kind of like phrasing. They're just like, yeah, fuck you guys. It's like, okay.
This by the way is the problem with like one of the big problems with liberalism is when you shear it away from religion and you remove the idea of a divine right to rule, you have to institute another form of legitimacy. And that form of legitimacy has, since the French Revolution, essentially become like the will of the people, which unfortunately is really, really hard to pin down. Even in a racially and like socially homogenous society, you can still get like these huge fracture points. But then once it becomes multicultural, it just becomes impossible. Like how can you even run any of this stuff?
Dongus Regabite, $5. Thank you. I was born as pale as Fuentes, and it was over with as soon as I went outside. Yeah, then your true colors showed. Jose Alva, $5. Hi, fellas. Just tuned in. Not so sure what I missed. Have you guys seen the Zioprots like David Wood that are now attacking orthodoxy? I've seen a little bit of it. And it looks like they get caught up on fundamentals for hours and hours, which I really enjoy. I don't know if my audience does, though, but I have seen a little bit of it. Aramaic Discourse, remember, for 7 months, mate. Wow. I have 14 half-black sons whom I'll raise to be Zoroastro-Baptists. Checkmate, non-Saint Michael. Angra Mainou deniers. Can you help me out with that at all?
I don't know. It's Zoroastro-Baptist.
Oh, my God. You guys put in work.
Aramaic Discourse. He's gonna start his own like Zoroastro Baptist nation before we know it, mate.
Pulling out some weird names there. Red Devil, $10. Thank you. You're half and half unless you're mixed. Your genes are less a blend and more of a shuffle. That's a very important distinction to make. I've tried to make the distinction between heritability and heredity. Heredity is directly what is passed down to you. Heritability is commonalities between groups of people genetically. Well, if you shuffle and white genes are recessive, you get less white genes. Why are you trying to demean pure whites? Do you know the history of these pure whites? You don't think anywhere. These bloodlines, I'm going to crash out. These bloodlines just started a couple generations ago, apparently. This is what kills me. When you say pure white. And so they can't get whiter? Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot how genes work. Thank you for the $10. It only gets less white. I keep forgetting that about genes. But it's pure. It's the purity. What do you do with that purity? Without Christ, what do you do with that purity? What are you appealing to? Just the genes? The genes ain't going to do it alone. You need the belief to activate the genes. We've seen what happens to whites when they're demoralized, when they don't believe in themselves, when they don't have a grand narrative, when they're not standing on the shoulders of giants. It's not just the genes. You must activate the genes with something. That's my point. The new GM, $10. When are these guys going to admit white is already mixed even in jolly old England? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Well, they have ethnicity there, which we're going to cover. And I've said this over and over again, where rebuilding or building for the first time an American white identity is going to be cringe. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be weird. It's being built, okay? But there is a difference of ethnicity in Europe compared to race in the United States. Please continue.
Look, New GM raises a good point, but it's also a point that the Marxists have been using to like fuck over the English for ages and ages, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the thing. Now that we're being forcibly diversified.
Yeah.
The distance between, say, like the English and the Irish seems vanishingly small in comparison. Whereas, like, you know, back in the day,
Right.
the English versus the Irish would be like, oh my God, you know, the Irish are a different race and no. So I don't know. Like, I mean,
This is why I want to talk about this topic more. I've discussed a lot because there's the crux of the issue is the interpretation of universality from Christianity and how it is incompatible with pro-white. Do you understand the point that I'm making, right? The interpretation of universality with Christianity and how that is at odds with a pro-white movement. This is what I'm trying to have more of a conversation about because there's not a clear answer on it.
Well, someone on Twitter said, I forget who it was, the concept of race was actually invented when Christianity bumped up against the limits of universalism, right? Like when it, you know, when they discovered like sub-Saharan Africa and stuff like that, right? But then again,
yeah, I can easily imagine that. You know,
right? But
I think we're all the same, man. And then you see
because you wander into these places and they're building like piles of skulls and like their entire religion is just like torturing people to death and like sacrificing them and stuff, and you're just like, shit, right? But then you have examples like what happened in South America where you've got these like mass conversion miracles. I think it was the Lady of Guadalupe. Someone in chat will like, no, it was like this incredible like image that converted like millions and millions of South Americans to Catholicism. So I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. Like I think the universality of Christianity is simultaneously its greatest strength, but also its greatest weakness. And you've got to have some kind of limitation.
But
right?
there's a hierarchy of priorities, and one of those priorities on that hierarchy is race, even with Christianity.
But also, right, like the problem with like sort of, you know, the new like Cuxianity is just the idea that you can't have pride in your people.
Yes.
Right. Like, or there are no peoples, right? Like you're just submerged. It's a very, very sort of like almost Islamic way of looking at it, right? Like, you know, you're part of the ummah, right? It doesn't like matter. Whereas like in, you know, Christianity they have peoples and tribes and no. Like you are allowed, like you should be allowed to have pride in your people. Look out for your people.
No, not allowed to. It ought. You should. Yep. You come from a people. It's not even not allowed to. It's that you should do it. Because like things are very atomized at this point, right? And now people are trying to like reverse engineer it and trying to do something that used to be normal and natural.
Yeah, it is weird, this sort of de-atomization thing that everyone's, because it's like the atomization has now reached just such ridiculous levels that everything's just coming apart at the seams. And I think people are really searching for just like whatever scraps of community they can get to like engineer themselves out of this like horrible fucking situation, you know.
TNR FNV $5. Thank you. Mods are asleep like the stream. Fist is the only mod. We might have to make someone a mod. Things are getting frisky down there. Yeah, I have a race conversation with no mod. I'm a genius, dude. Okay. Leaf Man with a frying pan, $5. Human Genome Project data shows that genetic disparity from random US white to Euro white is 0.01 FST, while mixed black to white child is 0.07 FST to parent. Then so what is FST?
FST is a measure of genetic distance. I don't know the exact thing. And he's correct. He is absolutely correct.
Yes,
right?
when we
this is why
when we say genetic distance, okay, that's still very vague in general.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
What do you mean by genetic distance?
So genetic distance is the difference in genome between two organisms, right? And if you look at a map of the human genome, what you find is that different races cluster around different sort of or like the cluster, basically, right? So like the
Mhm.
Europeans are a cluster, the blacks are a cluster, the Arabs are a cluster, the
Mhm.
Moos are basically like their own sort of like weird
From
cluster.
these strong gene associations developed over thousands of years from breeding in a locale, right?
Yes, yes, and
Yes.
I mean, this is the thing. I don't think that on a long enough timeline these tendencies are irreversible, right? I think that there is a distinct effort to try and make sure that everyone is mixed all the time. Like, so for instance, what occurred to me the other day is imagine you've got like birds on your property, okay, and they're like annoying and you want rid of them, okay, and so you figure out a way, like when it's like mating season, you go around and you like, you know, you break their nests and you like bang on the trees and you just make sure that they can't ever get together. And that's
Mhm.
basically what's happening to all the Western nations, right? They're just going around and they're just like identifying every single
They've
point.
made the white pussy unfuckable.
Yeah, but it's not just
A
that.
lot
Like
of
it's
okay?
everything, right? You can't get a nest, you can't breed normally, like every single like thing. And mate, I don't know how to reverse it. Like, well, I mean I do, but you're not allowed
But
to
like,
say that.
but like the white women problem is what we say in the West. On one hand, we need to reproduce with us as white men need to reproduce with white women, but then we also complain about how white women are the most insufferable. Okay,
Are you
quite a pickle.
are you talking about the WWQ, the white woman question?
Yes, yeah, they're a tough pill to swallow nowadays, and they even were 15 years ago. Nudie, rocking everywhere. $10, thank you. Newsfist, to clarify, I mean Anglo-Saxon is already a mix. I'm not talking about the small boats.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't think you
Oh,
were
the
talking
fractional
about
mixtures. Okay.
Yeah,
let's
no, I
continue.
didn't think he was talking about the small boats. No way, no way.
Our family is going to stay together, and like there's all these stories, you know, of like the black grandma who's like, that, you know, their kid was
Acting up in church
acting,
and-
yeah, and like boom, and she comes down like a hammer
Yeah.
on them, like, you're not going to embarrass me
Yeah.
in front of these white folk,
or
you
just
know, like,
hurt our reputation or hurt our
Yeah.
people's reputation. We've worked really hard.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were. My point is, they were coming along.
Right.
There was still a distinction between whites and blacks. There always was. Anybody who says otherwise is just being dishonest. There was, but in
I actually don't see color, so I don't know what he's talking about.
some sense, the gap was shortening, and whites were progressing, but blacks were progressing also, not degressing, and the gap was arguably shrinking, but then. You know,
But then the Jews
But then the Jews. That's right. No, with the Civil Rights Act and all these kinds of things,
pushing
black entitlement.
victimhood
Victimhood,
mentality,
White Collar Act.
Marxism.
So my point is, I think there always would have been some difference, and I think we have to acknowledge that,
Right.
because I think some of the difference is biological. I think that
When you have a
is-
diminished prefrontal cortex, there's going to be a biological.
This is just what's incredible to me. I think Ardy wants Western culture and civility to die. This is what I'm talking about. Even me just having this conversation on YouTube means I want Western culture and civility to die.
Ardy, why do you want Western culture and civility to die?
Most breeding is already intraracial. Most breeding is and has been intraracial. Okay, it's been within the same race. That's already it. Okay. Even when you talk to a lot of biological determinists or people that are actually pragmatic, they understand that it's going to be like, I don't know, 85%, 80% white, 75% white, 90% white. None of them are saying 100% white. They understand that it's going to be an amount, right? Now, I just don't see in game theory the amount of non-crazy white pussy, okay, that are going to fuck the white men. In game theory, especially if we're like, sweetie, what percentage white are you? Oh, sure, I know you get a ring through your nose and blue hair, but you're white. I just don't understand. I don't understand how we win in game theory.
She's already frozen her eggs, and how she's got the zipper tits. You know,
I just don't see the supply keeping up with the demand right now.
Difference.
So you're half black. You brought it up. Talk about that for a second.
I mean, I don't
Talk about it.
necessarily believe it's a race issue. I think it's a breeding issue. And when several generations of breeding within a particular demographic, which isn't of the highest IQ, you're going to have a general population with a low IQ. Look at Somalia. I don't think they are cursed by God to be low IQ. I think they've just bred with each other for so long.
Inbreeding through, if you're not aware of that for the listener, look it up.
So Pakistani community in Britain are the most inbred and also the most mentally retarded people in the country. And they continue to marry their cousins and continue to inbreed.
I love his candor. I really do. Frankly,
Yeah,
he's
he's
just
right.
retarded.
He's
Yes.
right. Like
He's clinical with when he says things.
we have like in the UK now just entire centers like just devoted to looking after tarted Pakistani children. Like it's just insane. Like it's called SEND, SEND, and the councils have to fund it, and the amount like that it costs is just insane. Like it's crippling the country because they have to give them everything. It's so crazy.
And every school teacher in Britain will tell you the disabled kids tend to be Pakistani.
Well, so, okay, this is going to come down pragmatically. My question is going to be, so what do we do with the non-whites, okay? And they're going to say, I don't give a fuck, okay? Is that a politically viable solution, rhetorically or pragmatically? So that's what it comes down to. It's what I said to Atlas Thugged. I'm not a Christian. And then it's like, well, then so what do we do with the atheists that support Christianity? This is what I'm trying to rectify. This is what I mean by big tent in the dissonant sphere, by the way. What about the people that want to agree with you and support you? What do you do with them? You just let them go? Okay, that doesn't sound very politically expedient.
Yes, because of the inbreeding.
Well, I heard that 64% of somewhere around there, some percent in the 60th percentile of Pakistan is cousin marriages.
Right.
And so let me back up a little bit for us, because I think there's the inbreeding, the malnutrition, the poverty, but also if you look again, nations that have been living on the equator have less problem-solving skills required than northern communities, right? And the reason is you have good weather. You don't have
seasons.
You have your seasonless essentially.
Right.
You have food year round. You have you don't have to plan for food storage, for shelter.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to build complex civilizations because you're outside. Now, there's actually statistics and studies that show that because the dominant lifestyle of an equator nation is outdoors, it actually, over the generation, breeds highly physical people. And so you have these extremely fit, athletic builds of the black population who are living on the equator because they've lived outside and their life is focused on outdoor activity.
So I always assumed it was that slaves were bred to be stronger and faster, but I think your theory has more to it.
I think it's that they noticed the strength of the slaves because of the location that God had placed these peoples. Right. And this isn't just even, this would be like the Dominican as well, Dominican Republic, right? Like they're outside as well, but they're what I would call them as black Hispanics. But when you go north and you have seasons and you have the need to cultivate indoor activities, you're building ahead. You're having architecture, you're having planning ahead. And when you're inside half the year, you have intellectual pursuits rather than physical pursuits. And so you're dealing with literature, you're dealing with poetry, you're dealing with inventions, you're dealing with music, you're dealing with, and again, it's not just European.
Dealing with a philosophy on miscegenation, okay? I'm a pioneer, fellas. This is what you're not realizing right now, okay? This is the whitest thing I could possibly do, is postulate and theorize and try to add some philosophy to this very difficult political situation that we're in, because what do we do with them? What do we do with all the non-whites? You don't care. Okay. Well, I care. Okay. I care because they're in my fucking country, and a good amount of them are fucking just cool, decent people. And they want to hang out. When we talk about this white shit, it's like, yeah, fuck all the non-whites. It's like, okay, well, what is this white culture that we're building? It just goes in a circle to me when I try to answer this in my head, which is why I like God first. That's the culture, which appeals most to white people. So if you appeal to God, specifically, I would say muscular Christianity, if you appeal to that, yes, it is that is what made the West the West. Was it just white people, or was it also Jesus Christ? And who did the most with what Christ gave them? I would say the whites did. Are we getting a little closer to what I'm talking about at all with the infatuation with just the genes alone?
Well, this raises a really interesting point, actually. Does does religion come from race? Like, I mean, the Japanese didn't develop Christianity, right?
And they're intelligent, right?
And yeah, exactly, right. I think it does, right? Like, not that it can't sort of like spread outward the way like Christianity did, but in the same way that certain legal regimes fit with certain races or nations because they are disposed to act that way. I think religion is the same. And obviously once I guess it's taken hold and you've got like a civilization, you can sort of stretch it outward and try and get more people to come into it. But I mean, you're not going to get, I don't know what religion the Aztecs had when they were like, doing human sacrifice, or, the the Africans when they were doing like the same kind of like thing. Like, I guess you just call it like, demon worship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't think you're gonna, I can't see like whites doing that. I don't know. Maybe I will be unpleasantly surprised, but it doesn't seem to me like it would be a natural outgrowth.
It's also China. It's also Russia. It's also Japan. So you have this reality where you have over generations differences of IQ developing between the northern territories and the equator territories. But then you combine that with, again, poverty and inbreeding, and you have this complex reality. Now, IQ is generally stable. It's hereditary generally. You can change it through nutrition. If you give a child really great food and really great upbringing, you also bring Christianity into the picture, and then you have a totally different reality. Now, we know that the gospel went from Jerusalem. It went out west toward Greece.
I believe in this conversation, we view IQ as maximum limit, right? IQ would be your when we say IQ, it's your your maximum capacity.
Yeah, you could take a genius, right, as a child and like lock them in a dark room for like years and completely retard their development and turn them into a drooling moron. Okay, but you cannot increase someone's IQ beyond like a baseline, no matter how much education and Gibbs and like school breakfasts you give them. And this hope that the West had, that through nutrition and education and Gibbs, you could turn like the whole world into 130 IQ Anglos. It didn't work, and all that happened is that all the Anglos got fucking stupider.
The amount of resources that goes into trying to make a dumb person smart is opportunity cost. You lose every time. The juice is never worth the squeeze.
But it does provide a lot of jobs for idiots, right? So there's that. Yeah.
Greece and Rome, and then went out west even further toward the European nations, and then also to America. And America, as it stabilized as a nation, started sending missionaries where? Well, to Africa and to other nations. And so the gospel has been among the white nations for a much longer time than it has the African nations. And so when you again have the African nations where you're having thousands of years of demon worship combined with different environmental factors and poverty, you start to produce different groups of people that I think can be reversed, but it's not instantaneously. It is over generations, and it does demand the gospel. And so I think you combine the two together. But I think if we have a discussion around this, the Bell Curve book that was written in the 1990s, which I believe
Charles Murray, right?
Yeah, and actually I think the other guy is a Jewish guy that wrote it. He was like the chief psychologist at Harvard in 1994, and he talks about this. It was a controversial book, but it was also a New York Times bestseller in 1994. And so I think there's a conversation to be had here. I'm not saying I'm an expert or a scholar on this, but I do believe that these conversations are going to be more common and need to happen to figure out how do we Christianize, how do we develop, how do we look at nations, look at peoples.
Warning: this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive.
Commercials hurt me. Okay, the tone of it when you're in this conversation, and then all of a sudden that comes up, crushes me every time.
Go to knickknack.com.
I'm fascinated by what you said because we've known for a while from the fall of Rome and from the...
Yes.
See, I have a very Warhammer 40,000 kind of like view of this, right? the way that you stop all the demon worship and stuff, right? Like, obviously you go in and you've got to get rid of the high priest and stuff like that, right? But it's Christianity and prayer and things like the liturgy, the monks that pray on Mount Athos, right? They're like the influence of the emperor, right? They hold back the tide of the warp, as it were. Okay. And if all of these things are destroyed, there is nothing to prevent the demons from just coming through and just fucking taking over everything. That's why, Warhammer 40,000 is by far my favorite fictional science fiction universe, because there's so much truth in it. Right. You might disagree, but
so consistent. No, I hear that so consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. It is fundamentally like a spiritual battle, right? And you can see territory and gain territory and all this kind of other stuff.
Apparent fall of Europe, that nations on a societal level, if you have abundance, you have decadence. That follows. But it's also on an individual or a personal level, in that living around the equator where you have an abundance of food, you have a decadence in the degree that you don't develop the emotional, spiritual, and intellectual level that you need to as a human being. So having too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Correct, essentially.
Can we agree having too much of a bad thing has negative effects without gratitude?
Yeah.
If you can have, I think you can have abundance, and the gratitude can maintain that without having it devolve.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think you need religion, really, and I mean, obviously, as I just said, right? Because I think there's a spiritual aspect to it that is often understated. People are like, oh, it's just about the right culture and all of that kind of stuff. No, I think there's an entirely other layer to it. I think this is one of the problems with modernity, is that people in the West have gotten far. It's become a sort of soft materialism, right? As people have abandoned the world of the spiritual. And then when it came back in the 60s, you had all these people just being like, oh, wow, man, let's do highly dangerous psychoactive chemicals and talk to fuck knows what demons.
Dude, I was looking for answers, so I would go to psychedelics. I mean, I thought it helped.
You just fucking talking to demons, you fuckwit. Oh my god. Oh, but they sound so intelligent. Yeah, they do that, right?
No, what psychedelics offered for me was a lot of humility.
Yeah.
Because it turned me into a baby. I couldn't do anything for myself, right? It took away all of my agency. And so it really made me grow. It made me mature in a way. Because I got outside of my own head and I realized that wow, I can be in a state where I'm so confused and I'm a baby. I'm just couch locked for hours, right? And then I was really, gratitude was huge because I had my sanity back. I had myself back, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where it helped me anyway. But I'm an odd duck, so.
Well, and it's not a coincidence that you essentially have impoverished nations on the equator,
right?
More so than you do in the north,
right?
We can't afford to be poor on the north because you'll die from cold.
That's right. There were poor people, and their line was cut off. So as Christians, I think number one, we have a moral obligation to display intellectual honesty. So we have to be truthful. But two, we want to root everything that we can in the Christian narrative, and so we're not. None of us are Darwinianists. We're all we believe in the biblical narrative. That said, so this will probably get clipped out. But if anybody's being in the vein of intellectual honesty, if they actually include the caveats that I'm going to provide, then there's nothing immoral or wrong about what I'm about to say. But one of the things that we still don't fully grasp. Culture comes from the Latin word cultus. It's worship. And when it comes to worship, when it comes to religion, every major world religion has a eugenics program. It's not whether but which. Immoral forms of eugenics are immoral. They're wrong. Forced sterilization or these kinds of things are heinous, and I would never say otherwise. But when you look at world religions, dietary restrictions, Does religion have anything to say about, you keep mentioning nutrition, and you're absolutely right, but does religion have anything to say about nutrition?
Plenty.
Plenty, exactly. Does religion have anything to say about catechesis and education and training? Plenty. Does religion have anything to say about whose bloodline is cut off from a people based off of crimes, immorality, these kinds of plenty? Does religion have anything to say about who you can and cannot marry? Like, do these things have genetic implications? Well, of course they do. So, like, it's funny. People would be like, well, Joel's, or, so I'm not a race essentialist. I think that religion is higher.
Right.
I'm also not a racial determinist. I do believe that in the providence of God, albeit very slowly, so not in 15 minutes, but over the course.
And so I was really curious to hear this conversation because I've been dividing it into these two camps kind of for the past couple months.
Course of generations, I believe that the deck can shuffle. So I'm not a racial determinist. If Europe and America, if whites continue being the key word, because we're currently doing it, if we continue for 1,000 years to apostatize against the Lord Jesus Christ, and other nations, non-white nations, not just convert in some silly, revival crusade, decisionism for Christ, but deeply discipled in the Christian faith and apply all of Christ to all of life for 1,000 years, then I believe that it's conceivable that another race of people could actually, in biological and objective metrics, pass up Europeans, not in 20 years, not in even 100 years, but in 1,000 years, genetically across the board in certain arenas, including IQ, because religion, worship, is we're not Gnostics. We believe that that the soul is of infinite value, that the eternal matters more. But even the Apostle Paul, he doesn't say spiritual training is of infinite value and therefore be a fat lard. Physical training is of no value at all. No, he doesn't say that, much to the chagrin of all these 300-pound pastors, who don't smoke or drink, but they're eating, McDonald's.
Is this a thing in Orthodox? Like, are there fat Orthodox archbishops or priests?
Not really, no. I mean,
less so than other denominations.
No, I mean, you get quite a few of them. Like they'll have a bit of a belly, but it's just normal middle age.
Yeah, I'm just
stuff, you know what I mean, right? No, I've never met.
There's no Randy Fines.
In fact, I will go one step further. I have never met anyone in an Orthodox church who is obese. Like it wouldn't. The whole point is to control your passions. I think one of the reasons why the Baptists, for example, right, like why they're known to be like
body, they're probably not disciplined in mind.
Amen. And so we're not Gnostics. Paul says, spiritual training is of a greater value, but physical training, he doesn't assign to it no value. He assigns to it some value. So the body is a real category. God made the physical material world and said it was good. God loves the world. I believe that refers to people, but also the cosmos. God actually loves his material creation enough to actually step into it in real human history with a physical body. And the Lord Jesus Christ, not just temporarily, but he is still in the glorified physical body for all of eternity, which is a phenomenal mystery to think about. And so all that being said, my point is that when I think of Europeans, for instance, you're talking about, you could go all the way back to Constantine, or at least 1,000 years to King Alfred. Even in, what is it? It's fiction, but there's.
Oh, hey, I thought you had stopped talking.
No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it sounded like you stopped in the middle of saying something, but I didn't want. I was trying to.
Right. No. So what I was saying about the Baptists is that like food is sort of like one of the sort of forms of physical gratification that isn't seen as a sin. So they're like, and I think, chat, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but there was like a whole strain in Protestantism that was like prosperity, right? I think it started under Calvin, but I'm not 100% sure. And that's quite easily like parlayed into sort of, gluttony. I mean, I don't see the Baptists doing a lot of fasting, right? It's more like an ortho thing. Do the Catholics fast? Chat, someone in chat.
Dude, there's so many things that gravitate me toward orthodoxy. As an atheist, the closest thing I've ever had to like any sort of, I need to go back to fasting. I really do, dude. I did it, lad. I need to do it, but as an atheist, it's hard to make rules for myself. Okay, it's really hard doing everything for yourself.
So chat is saying that Catholics fast during Lent. Yes, of course. That's how could I forget that, right? But do they fast outside of Lent?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I mean, you can do a whole sort of you can do like a whole thing if you really get into orthodoxy where you like fast like twice a week. But I mean it's chill. Like no one will come down on you if you don't do it. It's it's seen to be like a voluntary thing,
Yeah, whenever I've had questions like that, I was going to say early on is, I don't know, 3 months ago, when we start really talking about this stuff. Every ortho was like, "Oh, you just talk to your priest, and they work around it. If you have dietary issues, if something's difficult, the point is that you're trying." Wow.
Yeah, well, exactly. Should we super chats?
Sure. I got.
Start with Coffee Cat. do you want to do these ones?
There we go. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Brittany Venti. Oh, the Coffee Cat, $5. Brittany Venti, that's a quote. I know she's mixed. I don't know if she's a quarter or a half-African. I know that she's mixed, though. Can tell by her hair. Serious side, $5. Thank you. Ardy, you make some points, but did you think of the fact that you're a booger man on the internet? Checkmate.
He's got you there.
It's gonna get worse than that. It's gonna get worse than that,
mate. You're a booger man. Oh my god.
I can't believe Booger Man had a booger opinion. Mega Dizel for $10. Thank you. What is wrong with hot one state policy? First time donating. Love you guys. Keep the good work. Some people are taking this in stride. Others, it is an affront to reality and what they believe in, which I understand. Okay. I'm not making anything into reality. Okay. I just want to know. I don't have the white unity feeling. It's something I have to learn. Just like with Christ, okay? I have to learn this feeling. It has to be learned. It's not intuitive for me. And I know it's like that for a lot of guys, okay? So I try and figure these things out as they come to me. Red Devil, $20. Thank you so much. I bet it's a really nice comment he's saying. Let me get this straight. We're all already mixed, so white isn't real. There aren't enough white women, and we have no answer to dealing with the invaders because we can't use force. So we're doomed, but at least we can retreat to Christ. It's not retreating to Christ. I guess.
Can I answer this?
Please.
Okay, so white is absolutely real, right? There are enough white women. The problem is like they've been driven insane. Okay.
The type of women, but this is what I'm saying very quickly. When we say white women, okay, we never are talking about what the type of white women. We're never talking about parenting. We're never talking about culture. We're just talking about white. Okay, the divorce rate's already high. It has to be a certain kind of white woman, especially if you have this prescription and this idea that you're passing down from generation to generation, because that can just get your offspring. How do you make sure that they are going out procreating with white people? You don't have that mechanism to do so.
And look, we could use force on the invaders, but it would require mass force. It would require organization. Like, do you see any of that? Right? Like, look, if you've got like a solution to get like all of the whites like organized to like do some kind of mass military thing, I am open to suggestions. I am just not seeing it at the moment. Maybe when shit gets worse, I don't know. Like, or, it seems to me that, again, one of the great strengths of whites generally is their hierarchical nature. It makes for like great societies and all this kind of like other stuff. The problem is when the top gets subverted, it also becomes like a massive weakness, right? Like, like to use the Catholic Church as an example, right? The fact that you've got a pope and you've got the Vatican is great if it's working well. But if the top gets subverted, then everything else like follows. So we're doomed, but at least we can retreat to Christ. I mean, no, I would say that Christianity would help matters significantly, not just because of sort of mental organization, but through sheer spiritual force.
Also the more people that are going to church, like it's very. would you call Christianity a pro-natalist movement? It's very baked in, okay? So if there's more people going to church, you're not just going to have a random baby, okay? But it's actually going to be the type of offspring that you would want to move forward. It's not just genes. This is what confuses me. Like would you want an atheist white woman, leftist, commie, okay? Or a Hispanic Christian woman to fuck me. Okay, we make a kid. And we make 3 kids, okay?
Ay,
This is the crossroads I'm
Ardy.
coming at.
You say such things. I'm on my way to being frigid abuela.
Ay, Dios mío.
Dios mío.
Coño, tigre, dámelo. I'm already there. I'm halfway there. And Nuji rocking everywhere. $10, thank you. I'm in a bad mood, so I'm just saying the white race in a post hoc rationalization of Christendom that survives 700 to 1400. If you aren't Christian in Christ first, you aren't white. I love it.
You missed one, by the way.
From
Quagmire.
thank you. Oh my God. Quagmire $5. Just when I was out, the miscegenator does it again. Sick guitar riff. You can try and leave. These are just words, fellas. They're just thoughts and ideas and conversations. I know what the new GM is feeling, though, because this is a very serious topic for a lot of people, which I understand. And when I talk about something that you find serious and I don't find it serious, that can be frustrating. I understand that. Bill Clinton skin suit. Remember 5 months. Thank you. Hello, fellas. It's been a while. Been busy renovating the guest spit room. Hope you've been doing well. Is that put another loogie in the spittoon?
You got a whole
doing
room.
well. Keep up the good work.
Got a
Apparently.
whole room where guests like spit. Oh, posho.
Rat name mouse number 3 months. As someone with a Spanish mom, that impression was horrible. You need to sound thrice as angry and talk twice as fast. That was Dominican Spanish, okay? My Spanish is Dominican. And they refuse to be called black, no matter how blue they are.
Ay, Dios mío.
Ay, Dios mío. I thought it was fast. What the fuck? My God, they're really fast.
There's strains of truth because a real person wrote the book. Treasure Island. Treasure Island, you have Ben Gunn, who's marauded for 6 years on the island, who's left there. And then finally, the good guys show up, and Jim Hawkins, the cabin boy, is the first one to encounter Ben Gunn, who's, lost his mind at this point. He's been alone for 6 years on this island. And the first thing that he says to Jim Hawkins, the boy, is, he says, "Please, sir, my mother did not raise me to be a heathen. These last 6 years, I have been without a Christian diet." And he calls it, "Do you have any cheese or milk or eggs?"
Right.
And he calls it a Christian diet. And again, I understand, I'm aware that it's a fictional story, but the person who wrote it is a real person, and who was shaped in the milieu of Christian thought, European Christian thought, for centuries. And he says it as just matter of fact, as common speech, as though nobody would even begin to question the point that he's asserting. And the point is that there aren't just, it's not just keto versus vegetarian versus this. No, it's there is a Hindu diet, there is an Islamic diet, there is a Christian diet. So
which these days we call civilized.
Exactly. And so religion impacts everything.
There's a reason when you see a politician eating rice and slop with his hands, that it repulses you on a level.
Amen.
And that's the very reason.
Exactly. So for us to deny, okay, if Europeans were shaped by Christianity for 1,000 years, arguably longer, but 1,000 years, and Christianity has something to say about what you eat and about who you marry and about capital punishment, who doesn't get to further their line because they're a rank degenerate, and all, like,
also about arts and education and media and everything else that when you're building a society, music.
So if all these things are true, and you have a people who subjected themselves to the word of God, speaking to every single issue of life for 1,000 years, of course there's a tangible benefit. And to say that there's not, so they would have spiritual benefits, but no physical at all. I think that is a heretical position. That is Gnosticism. That is to say that the gospel has no tangible material effect in the world at all. I think that's an impotent gospel that only covers the penalty for sin, penal substitutionary atonement, but has nothing to say about breaking the power of sin. And he comes to make his blessings flow as far as the curse is found. Are there physical curses? Yes. And then I believe that the blessings of the gospel actually are able to overcome through time, generationally, those physical curses. And then what would be the consequence if there was another people, right? So I've given the European example, another people that did not even receive the gospel until the last 200 years. And in the meantime, we're worshiping demons and using even substance abuse to open portals, to have spiritual experiences and intermarrying, like you were saying, Calvin, for generation after generation. Of course, there would be a tangible physical difference. Of course there would. And so then you take these people and strip them of their homeland and bring them to America and then, you know, feel bad about it and grant them freedom and the right to vote. And then Jews come in and begin to tell them that they're actually not only equality is on the table, but actually they're owed superiority because of past oppression and mistreatment. And so now it's entitlement. And then we wonder what's going on. And so my point is, yes, it's cultural. Yes, rap music is a stain on our society. It's a net liability. So yes, the culture and all these things are a problem, and fatherlessness is a problem. But we also, I think, have to recognize at some level that race is real. Biology is real. It can fluctuate over time. Through the power of the gospel is so potent, so efficacious that it can affect even the realm of the physical, even as it pertains to a people, to a race. But it takes time.
Yeah, the black Americans he was initially talking about were Christian church-going black men in like 1905 with like Booker T. Washington and shit like that.
Yeah, but like, see, look, Joel is making the point that I made earlier, right? The Warhammer 40K point, right? Which is that there is something supernaturally efficacious. I mean, he says it's the gospel. You know, to me, it's like the liturgy, communion. You know,
Hey,
right? You know,
close enough. All right,
close enough, right? We're talking about the same thing, right? And if and like I was saying, the problem with this soft materialism that a lot of Christians have, it's like, oh, it's, you know, it's just this thing in my head that, you know, I just believe it's just a way of ordering society. No, it's much deeper than that.
I think that was occurring in America, albeit slowly, but it was occurring. And then we came in and put a sharp stop to it and have done blacks an almost irreparable disservice. And now we are faced with a very difficult question of what to do moving forward.
It's a question of the spiritual realm. I think you're talking about here, the things that affect us that we can't tangibly put down on pen and paper. And you mentioned music. That's a good example. Like rap music is inherently evil. It's promoting degeneracy, murder, hypersexuality. You know, it's just sin.
It's also got those jungle beats.
But on a deeper level than that, on a level we've forgotten, frequency.
Those jungle beats, syncopation, Joel. A lot of white music has syncopation. Okay,
they
a lot of
have
classical
that
music. A lot of classical music is very syncopated. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Matters,
right?
And music used to be on a certain frequency until the Jews came in and changed the frequency. And people are going to think I'm crazy for this, but look it up. But even deeper than that, every Christian country had bells because we know that bells ward off evil, or we used to know that on a spiritual level. We forgot
trolls,
right? We've got all of this knowledge.
They ward off trolls.
Is that a thing?
Yes,
bells ward off evil. Really?
Yep. What do you think they're? Why do you think they're there? Like
believe it or not, never thought about it. My brain as a materialist goes, that's where that shit goes.
Look, it's very, very simple, right? Look at what happens when a bunch of moos and their people move into an area, right? And look at the first shit that they take down. They get rid of all the church bells. They get rid of all the churches.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
And that's why. Fellas, I'm very new, okay? Very new. I had no idea. So I asked these questions.
Right.
One of the beliefs.
Mohammedans hate music and they hate bells. Why? Because the devil hates music and the devil hates bells. Because music is beautiful, transcendental. It takes us out of ourselves, directs our gaze towards God. And so the enemy undermines that through Mohammedanism, but also through Judaism. And so our culture on a spiritual level has shifted in ways that we don't even recognize because we're no longer in touch with the spiritual realm. We've got to reconnect with all the things that affect us. From the design of the ancient architecture. There's a reason when people go to Europe, they're like, this is a beautiful church. This is beautiful. Because the Masons knew back in the day how to design a dome so the frequencies reverberated off of it and it feeds us, it heals us on a spiritual level. We need that in our lives.
Well, and I would argue on a physical level.
Yeah, but when we're divorced of that, such as in a continent that has none of that healing is going on, or not to the same degree. Yeah. And you mentioned, the white race maybe has 1,000 years to return to Christ. I don't think the white race has 1,000 years left.
Yeah.
The white Britain will be extinct. Well, it will be the minority by 2060 unless something rapidly changes in the immediate future. So that's just Britain. The rest of Europe is looking very similar. White people are an endangered minority.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's little time to return to Christ.
Let's talk about this conversation around assimilation, biblical assimilation, because I think we go, okay, well, what do we do?
Right.
What do we do with a nation, well, at least that has been what I would call heritage Americans that have been here for hundreds of years? You have a black population.
I just watched Nick Fuentes talk to Dave Smith today, and he put heritage Americans in quotes when he said it. It's absolutely incredible.
That's great. That's a great comment by Sex Freakman there.
What do you say?
Moose hate bells so much they want to see the end of them. That's why they still get circumcised, to see the bell end.
He keeps his title. He is the one-line champion, dude. I don't know how he does it.
And we purchased in 1848, basically the southwest of the United States, which had obviously Hispanics, which again are half European also. But we have this unique nation that has at least three groups of people. We never had historically Arabs, we never had historically Asians, we never had historically Indians. So
they could all go, but the white American brought the black American in, so you have a duty and an obligation to that community.
Yes, and there's probably some sort of a solution which needs to be forefronted with the gospel.
Now, I mean, and this is what's difficult to rectify, because a lot of the pro-whites are like, I don't care what happens to anybody else. I'm just pro-white. I just think about white people. Very often I hear these types of arguments. That's why my question is, what do we do with the non-whites? And would you rather, like, the blacks, even religiously, should we stop abortion and let the blacks should we have an extra 1 million blacks a year?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that like one of the arguments against, like, isn't abortion like disproportionately, how do I put this delicately, affecting the black community?
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, it just happens to them. Yeah, it's like it's a health issue. They're at risk. They're at risk of being aborted. I don't know if it's something in their diet.
I think you've got a way better chance of Christianity coming back and changing a bunch of shit downstream from it than you do of sort of armed balkanization. I could be wrong though, right? Like on the other hand, like I've sort of thought that armed balkanization was like at least on the cards for the US for a while, and the UK as well, by the way. Because people are already sorting themselves like that, because no one wants to live in English Pakistan or American India or whatever. Like
some direction. Right. And then also, I do believe that the Southwest, especially, again, we purchased this territory, we're going to see a lot of interracial marriage between Hispanics and whites. My wife is Hispanic. She's half European, half Spanish, and half a Mexican.
Now, fellas, Steven Crowder also has a Latina girlfriend, as does this man. Okay. This seems to me, these are men with resources. Okay. So if they're not finding white women, okay, they could have found white women, but the heart does want what it wants. Why do you suppose there may be a growing amount of Christian white men courting Hispanic or Latina women? Why do you suppose that would be?
Well, because they're much more feminine. I mean, like my wife is Baltic, and
I don't even know what the fuck that means.
Right? When I met her, one of the things that like really,
that's an avenue on Monopoly. It's all I know.
Right. Well, look, basically, she was just much more trad, and that's and
yes,
and I mean, despite the fact that I was like a massive degenerate at the time, but we managed to like make it work. But
yeah,
I mean, I just look, someone, I think it was Ardy in the chat said, like, look, it's our duty to save white women. And look, okay, I agree with that. Okay.
Sure.
But the thing is that to do that, you are going to have to remove a bunch of stuff from white women. You're going to have to reverse feminism. You're going to have to reverse liberalism. And at the moment, the governing class is completely full of these people. So unless you're going to do like a heckin' wholesome coup and like a purge and, I'm not saying it's impossible, right? I'm just saying like it's not going to like this is the thing about the communists and the infinite respawns, as you have said, Ardy, right? The reason why the communists fear actual force being applied is because they know it's the only thing that can dislodge them. Anything else, any argument, any incrementalism, anything, they will always reverse. The only thing they fear is actual force pushing them out. So I don't know, man. Like,
well, there's some people saying that Crowder has white kids. Okay, now he got divorced, right? Now, if Steven Crowder, with his money and Christianity, gets divorced, I'm afraid, to say the least. Okay.
Yeah, because
Same with me.
divorce is really easy, and the family courts are massively slanted in the favor of women.
And
right?
that's
like,
that's patriarchy somehow.
It's been that way for ages. And so the cost for women is much, much lower. And there's all of this messaging being like, so someone, I think it was Ave as well, who was saying, like you don't, you change a woman like when you're with her, and he's absolutely right. Okay. You do. But
hold on.
If the woman is so crazy that she leaves within the first year because you're not enough of a cuck or whatever, what are you going to use to restrain her? Right? You can't. Like, it's not like the olden days where you can just like marry her, and then if she like runs off, the court will be like, well, look, you married him, right? Like, tough shit. It's a totally different ballgame now. It's fundamentally the state and the laws that are enabling all of this. Like it's all very, very well to, I mean, like we're just talking on a stream, but if you do not reform the legal system that makes all of this possible, you're not going to get anywhere. And any incremental changes will absolutely be reversed as soon as the lefties get back in, which is why Fuentes saying, well, maybe we should vote for the Democrats, in my opinion, is insane, because all the incremental changes that were made over like the last, since Trump got in, will be immediately reversed, and then it'll be infinite respawns again, and they'll be like pushing us towards the inevitable socialist gay utopia again, because like that's all they know. That is their. I actually think that a lot of these people in the West, like the progressives, they actually desire death. Like, and I mean, it's not really considered.
Really, what gave it away? Was it jumping in front of ICE vehicles? Was it
no. I mean the elites, right? Like,
death cult. Okay.
It's not really considered by many people, right? Like whether the elites desire their own annihilation, but I think a lot of them do, because they don't have religion. All they have is materialism and their hedonism. And that is not enough to sustain. I mean, I guess some of them have like, families and stuff but like the way a lot of the Western elites behave is like they are just longing to be annihilated by some other group. If you say a purpose of a system is what it does, if you look at all of their actions and the inevitable outcomes, it's never to make the nations they are leading in any way stronger. It's always the opposite.
That you're still going to have some racial diversity within America, because some of it is baked into the pie. It's like, hey, if you didn't want blacks here, then you shouldn't have bought them. Right. You shouldn't, but that ship sailed. Like literally, the ships dropped them off and sailed. So they're here now. You've got to do something in terms of true assimilation. Historically speaking, biblically speaking, it is interracial marriage. Now it's like, well, this seems like a glaring inconsistency, because you just did this debate, where you were against interracial marriage.
Oh no, everybody, it's our worst fear. He's talking about interracial marriage. I don't know how we're going to survive this. Here we go.
No, it makes sense. My position, and I'll state it again, we talked about it, in our last episode, right there briefly at the end, but my position is interracial marriage, although biblically permissible. So all of church history has no council, no creed.
Is there anything to appeal to for the whites that I saw in the chat, some of them are saying like, well, we are race first, God second. That doesn't mean we ignore God. Is there anything to appeal to where racial marriages are like sinful or you shouldn't do them?
Not that I can think of
Yeah.
off the top of my head, right? Unless you want to get really politically incorrect.
Unless you
and
want to
talk
get
about-
really Protestant with it, okay?
No. Unless you want to like do something like invoke the law against bestiality or something like that, right?
Oh yeah, I can. The pagans like that one a lot.
I think that
I like that
might
part
be
of it.
I think that might be a bit too far.
It's condemned interracial marriage as a sin, and I'm not going to be the first, right? You find something novel, you found heresy, and so it is biblically permissible. It is not a sin, and because it's not a sin, I don't believe that it should be criminalized.
If it is biblically permissible, does that mean we ought to do it? We could say no, right? If something is permissible, that doesn't necessarily mean that you ought to do it.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, this is the thing, right? Like I don't think anyone in the biblical age imagined the sheer scale of the sort of the movements of people.
I know.
Like in the
This is
ancient
why I
world,
want to talk about it.
This would be
Yeah.
seen as being invaded, right? Like literally, right? Like it would spark a war, right? Obviously, they didn't sort of
I
understand.
mean, that's all they would call it is an invasion. What's a historical allusion to where there was millions of people going into another country where it's not considered a fuck? There was probably
Right.
a
But
thousand that would go in. It's called an invasion.
But you got to take in a century of Moorish brainwashing as well to convince the invaded country that, well, you know, actually, like, you know, it's totally heckin' wholesome and awesome that, you know, you get invaded, right? Like that's not a normal position for a people to be in, is what I'm getting at.
Fuck, all we had to do was keep the bells up. That's incredible. That is incredible. What if we did? Yeah, I'm gonna think about that. I might have to conduct some experiments. Okay.
Yeah.
There are some synagogues near me. Okay. I'm actually very curious, like anthropologically.
I don't think they have bells, mate. You know.
No, I'm bringing the bells.
You're bringing the bell.
I'm bringing
like
the
stand
bells
outside
back,
and like
okay.
and like ring a big ass like church bell.
Yeah, when somebody like waves across forward, the power of Christ compels you. There's just little teeny bells on it as they're doing it. I think that would work.
If it's not a sin, there are some sins that are not crimes. Coveting, for instance, would be an example. It is a sin, but it's not a crime.
Yeah.
Being drunk privately in your home, it is a sin, but it's not a crime. So you can have a sin.
Sin, but not a crime. I do enjoy that distinction. However, I think someone said that they're an Anglo, and I'm Anglo-Saxon, and I think less of non-Anglo whites. Love it. Love it. Yes. I'm not used to this. You have to realize, me a year ago, I was just starting to go on my James Lindsay arc. Really a year ago. We haven't even been streaming for over a year. I'm very new to a lot of this, and I promise you, I'm trying to catch up as quickly as I can. Okay? It's a very expedited route. Oh, God. We got that one. New GM. Ardy, do you have to read my angry super chats like I normally write them? I finally get most of the spelling correct and you butcher it. Yes. This is why Fist normally reads the super chats. Thank you. Thank you for understanding that. Nuji, $10. Thank you. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. Wings are given to angels as a promotion for BTFOing a demon.
Based. The Emperor approves.
TBP, $10. Thank you. Divorces are overwhelmingly initiated by women, like 75 to 80% of the time. Crowder's crazy wife was no different. I know. And then there's also the liability, which is why I really do think that marriages should not be the government. That should be the church. Like, I don't know, Israel, have those marriages. You can't get gay married. You can't even get married as an atheist in Israel.
Yeah, but
not fair.
Hang on a bit there, Ardy. Yeah. That's not heckingly wholesome, liberal, and chungus of you, man. Right? Like, you know, what about the?
I don't want to be hecking wholesome chungus anymore.
You have to be right.
I want to be edgy. I want to be edgy and offensive, like Orthodox Christians. What is my life right now, dude?
We're gonna be
everything's flipped. I don't know. I didn't know it would pan out this way.
We're gonna be so liberal. We're gonna like force you to be liberal. It's like Rousseau said, "We will force you to be free."
Oh, I love it. King Spectre. Oh my God. Look at King Spectre's picture for $5. Sorry, I'm late, guys. No need to restart yet. I'll let you know when. But this Father Jonathan fellow is great. An enforcer of standards. Oh, yes. I enjoyed that as well. 0. 2,500 for $2. Thank you. Genghis Khan was a race mixing beta bro.
Yeah.
No.
It's a good point. It's
No,
a good point.
Come on, somebody else has to have cool based race mixers in history. Come on, guys. Come on, chat. They got to be around there somewhere. You really do miss my crash outs on my solo streams. Yiz the unit for $5. Yiz, always fantastic to see you. Manja, make America not mooish again. That is a very clever acronym. That is a very clever acronym.
Nice.
Terrific.
And that's not a crime. You cannot, I mean, you can because of tyranny, but you cannot righteously ever have a crime that's not a sin. So if interracial marriage is not a sin, and I maintain that it's not, then it cannot also be a crime, which means
this is
that
why I
it
didn't get
is-
the uproar around your previous conversations
Right.
online, because as someone who's not a white man himself, I recognize that Britain is predominantly white and always has been, and therefore always should be. I don't
Yes.
see that as a slight against myself. I see that as just a natural fact.
Right.
It's God's good order for our country.
Amen.
Yeah,
So interracial marriage, real
So
quick,
there's an ideal.
while being biblically permissible, aka not a sin, therefore not
Like, can that guy live within a mile of you? Is that okay? I just want to know where the line is. All right. I don't know what to do with these people that support white people in white countries that aren't white. I don't want to push them away because I feel like we need as much support as humanly possible. I'm not saying you got to fuck the guy. All right. Fuck. Just want to know what to do with him.
a
I mean,
crime.
you know, wait, you
ordinarily-
know all the jokes that they used to make on 4chan poll.
No,
Right?
I've never
Okay,
been on
right.
4chan.
Okay, so they have these like 4chan poll meetups, right? And like half the people there would be like, you know, not like pure
This is what I'm saying.
white, right? And it's like there's all these like just amazing jokes about like non-whites who are like, yeah, right, we got to protect the whites, you know,
Yes.
blah 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 blah. Like I can't be angry at those. I mean, even Murdoch made that joke, right? Where like Murdoch wanted like a Harper QT girlfriend, you know, right?
I know, but there's something in my universalist body where I'm like but that's an issue. They're acting white when they're not. When I mean, I guess it's better than being ashamed of being white, lying about being white because you want to be white so badly. I guess that is a better problem to have, right? People
Yeah, that's
want
a good
to be white
point.
so badly. That is a good problem to have, but you shouldn't have to lie about not being white. You should be able to say that you're not white. Because otherwise, I mean, but this is what's goofy, is that then you don't even know who you're talking to online, and I'm online, fellas, okay? There's other people than just white people that I'm talking to. I've grown up around mainly white people. But then my city got invaded, and then now there's not a lot of white people. And so none of us asked for this to happen, okay? In a sense, we are in this together where this is being done to us, okay? Now, there are different factions in that us, okay? I just don't like it. I don't understand the efficacy of pushing away people that want to be on your side, like Calvin Robinson, for example.
Yeah.
This was my position, or generally, so not universally in each and every individual case in the micro, but in the macro, generally
Right.
goes against God's ordinary / normative plan for peoples, cultures, and nations. So in the case of America, 1, you deport a ton of people. 2, once you've done that, then I believe that you could achieve, it's 59% white, European at this point. I believe that you could, through mass deportations, going back to Hart-Celler Act, achieve 75 to 85% white majority.
Mm.
And then with that remaining majority, you're going to have some Hispanics that are I would consider heritage Hispanics.
Mhm.
They fought with us at the Alamo.
Right.
They love our country. They've forsaken their heritage. This now is their heritage. They're Christians. They love America. So some
Yeah, Joel makes the point with assimilation, you have to lose who you were.
Yeah.
You had to leave that behind. So
And I
you
mean,
did-
aren't the Hispanics like very fucking Catholic? I mean, I know.
Well, but that's what I'm saying about why there's Christian white men that have a Hispanic wife, because that's very like they still get to have a defined culture, which is predominantly Catholic, right? The whites don't. So, but do you see what? Do you see what unites them is the Christianity, right? And are you going to choose a woman that is new to being, let's say, subservient in more ways than she would like to, or a Hispanic woman who this is how her family or great grandmother was like this. It's always been like this. So there's going to be some of that
do you
happening.
see what I mean by saying that Christianity's universalism is simultaneously its greatest strength and its greatest weakness at the same time?
What's the weakness?
Well, because if you stretch it too far, you wind up with like just weird sort of degenerate forms. Like look at the cartel Catholicism. You know much about that, right? Like,
what? No.
Yeah. So down in Mexico and other South American countries, you get this sort of weird syncretic blend of Catholicism and sort of like older sort of Aztec shit. So they have like these like weird sort of like versions of the saints that are like,
but
all
that's
like
just bastardizing. I mean, I wouldn't say Christianity's universalism. That's like saying Mudeo-Christianity's universalism. Right. Yeah, I think it's bastardized. Right. Okay, I wouldn't say it's a weakness when it's being intentionally taken advantage of.
I'm of the opinion that a lot of things in life that are greatest strength can also be your greatest weakness, right? Like you know, depending on the situation. You know, there's always trade-offs in anything, right? So the universalism of Christianity has allowed it to like spread massively, but it has also sort of like, you know, weakened it. And, you know, I don't know what to do with that.
But that's like saying the universalism of a car, but you gave it to an Asian woman. Yeah, obviously she's not fucking using it the same way others are. I think it's an issue of who has it and not the thing itself. I guess is my point.
Hispanics would fit the bill, some less, but some Asians would fit the bill. And then certainly you would have heritage blacks, right? I'm not of the persuasion that Clarence Thomas has to go back. I like Clarence Thomas. Go back where?
Right.
This is his home.
Right.
And that decision has already been made and the ship has sailed.
This might be his home, but he's sleeping outside, damn it.
So with remaining predominantly speaking of heritage blacks, if you're going to have one, you can have with still a not intermarrying between blacks and whites. You could still have mono-ethnicity because ethnicity is more. It's land, lineage, loves, language, liturgy, laws, these things. You can have mono-ethnic and monocultural America with heritage blacks and heritage whites. And there probably would be, whether formally or informally, some measure of separation and these kinds of things. That's one route. Although that always leaves open the door for identity politics and for politicians, especially if you're the governor of Georgia and Atlanta is your capital city, and we know the demographics of Atlanta, you're constantly going to have this inclination to play towards the black population over and against whites. So one is you just kind of you hold your separate places,
and the only way that's possible is through Christianity with the impartiality virtue. If you have this governor who is black, who's Christian.
So Christianity would soften the division. Absolutely. The division, but because
the division will always be there. Christianity will soften the division. I really like how he phrases that.
Yeah.
Christianity is not Gnosticism, and so it still maintains natural distinctions. So Christianity would soften the walls of hostility. It would soften them, but the distinctions would still in the category of nature remain, and there would be different incentives for different peoples according to nature, while both being Christian. And so there would still be some measure of division that Japan would not experience, and that's just a reality. But it would be better, certainly. It would. Right now, it's the natural distinctions have devolved into supernatural divisions because of the eroding of the Christian fabric. It's exasperated. The absence of Christianity has exasperated these divisions. So that would be an improvement, and that's one solution. Another solution would be.
I would say it's not necessarily true there, Joel. The 30 Years' War would be a really, really good example. Like the sort of centuries-long conflict between the Catholics and the Protestants. You can argue how sort of holy that was. But it was a thing. It's not that there cannot be very serious division within Christianity. But I do broadly agree that if you could get all the Christian denominations to come together and sort of agree on like a baseline version, but then it's not going to happen because, you know, half of Christianity is going to basically say that Christianity has to include this sort of furious love of the moose. And then you're going to get the other half who are like, look, this isn't
That's not Christianity. They're gonna
that's not
they're
Christianity,
just
right?
gonna call it heresy.
And then the Moos, of course, will do everything that they can to exacerbate that divide because.
Well, I know, but it sounds like you're not talking about Christians fighting each other. When you're talking about it like this right now, that doesn't really sound like Christians fighting each other, does it?
Yeah, well,
the Moos are going to exacerbate this. What, the Mudeo-Christianity and the muscular Christianity?
Heresy detected. Yeah.
To not just be monocultural and monoethnic, but actually monoracial over time through true assimilation. The only way historically it's ever been achieved, which would be interracial marriage, which is like, Joel, that's a glaring inconsistency with your position. Well, I think that we could achieve 85% white with remaining heritage blacks. It would be now normative to intermarry. No, it would still be the minority, right? If there's 10%.
It wouldn't be normative. Right. It's going to exist. It's going to happen. Let's not lose our minds when that happens. Now, I'm not talking about the random video of black and white person online. I'm talking about people that are Christian, or even if they're atheists, okay? People that are critical of the Moos, done with the left, okay? Like, there's going to be a demographic of these people, and I don't see why we would push them away. They're going to exist, okay? It doesn't make me mad that they exist. And most of it, like, but this is very common from pro-whites. They're like, yeah, everyone I've talked to has been from 75% to like 95% white. They're like that. I don't hear anyone seriously saying 100% white. Okay. I feel like a lot of
because okay. So the problem is that any nation must have a normative structure. You have to have a normative structure of some kind. Okay. Yeah. And then if people like that normative structure, they integrate into that normative structure, you can continue the nation. If you have two normative structures vying for supremacy, which is basically what's happening all across the West at the moment, then you have internal conflict. And 85-90% is enough people to keep that normative structure going, basically.
But we do have, I mean, they're tackling the best case scenario. Wouldn't it be great if America just had to deal with the heritage American blacks, just that actual heritage Americans, but now with the mess of illegals in the country? So even this conversation is happening in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that the problem is too, right? You have the same dynamics with, effectively slavery and foreign labor that was sort of driving the Civil War. I am not an expert on the Civil War. I'm sure there are people in chat who are far more up on this than me, but it does strike me.
Oh yeah, there's no way you know more about the Civil War than I do. Okay.
No, I'm sure there are like orders in the chat.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I've always just found it like weird how this need for a sort of labor underclass just recurs again and again and again in the West. It might be like a natural sort of feature of certain societies that if you want to have a whole class of people essentially doing brain work and sort of making art and all this kind of other stuff, you need an underclass of people to like do the farming. I don't know, but
Smiling Man, $5, thank you. Hey guys, I'm sending some time machine technology over to you so you can tell yourselves to restart now we are telling ourselves to restart the stream 2 weeks from now in the future. I like how meta it's getting. That's pretty awesome. This is a good use of a meta narrative. Okay, the Moos don't agree. Beef Sleazy, $5, thank you. I think a great example taking universalism too far is the Catholic Church lobbying for open borders. Well,
agreed.
You're going to bring up the Catholic Church. That's going to open up a whole can of worms. Okay, you can tell that Calvin Robinson is a trustworthy Catholic because he's been kicked out of 16 churches or something like that. Hasn't he?
He's been kicked out of 119 churches.
Dude, I swear. There's an alarmingly high number. GMR, $5, thank you. Everyone is calling Ardy a miscegenator, but maybe he's just secretly a female basketball American attempting to convince Chads to date blacks. See, this is why it was perfect when Fist brought up how people pose as a different race on the internet. I've said I'm 100% European. All right. Sure, I've shown my 23andMe, but you didn't see the name. Okay. I got that from somebody else. Instead of like using somebody else's piss to pass a DNA test, right? They just took somebody else's spit, gave it to them. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, you do have to keep your racism card in good order, mate. Right? Otherwise, like the racism sort of
I'm too racist for the
certification.
normies, but not racist enough for the racists. Okay. I never have a home wherever I go. I'm too weird for the normies, too normal for the weirdos. Every time with me.
Apparently Trump is soon going to institute like the Federal Office of Racism, right? That'll, make sure your racism license is like up to date and everything like that.
Seriously, $5. Thank you. Insert something quippy about Ardy being wrong here. Fellas, I can take being wrong, okay? I don't think I'm wrong, but I can take it. Also, I didn't have overtime today, so you may continue the stream as normal. Oh, thank the Lord. Leave me with a frying pan, $5. Thank you. Prot here, while interracial marriages aren't a sin, the ethno-culturally counterintuitive prevalence of them can imply lustful intent and not godly. Very interesting. Is that lustful?
That's a pretty good take.
Is that a polite way of likening them to beasts?
It's a polite way of saying if you got the jungle fever or the rice fever.
Why is it always a fever with you people? All right. Can I just get the jungle gigglies? Always a fever with you people.
Because it gets up inside you and makes you sweat.
Ancient hybrid Ardy didn't study on his DNA test and had to cheat. Dude, I was so hungover when I took my DNA test.
5% Hispanics, 85% whites. It would still be the minority in that case. It would still fit my position.
Yeah.
It would not be mandated. It wouldn't be formalized. It wouldn't. No white man
it would happen naturally.
be forced to give his daughter to I don't want to do that. But it would naturally happen over time, and then the problem would be solved. And here's the deal: we would probably be right there at the precipice in this moment chronologically in history of the problem being solved if it hadn't been for Jewish influence, for apostasy towards Christianity, the Civil Rights Act, and all these. It's like we almost had it fixed.
Now, what makes me feel good about the spot that we're in, okay, it is the most collective consciousness I think we've ever had globally on this issue.
Yes. I mean, I look at it
for like the first time in history. It has to be. They really hate the internet.
I think what's really happening is that the Moos especially have thrown essentially like mental caltrops in front of like everyone and made it just impossible to think clearly. And I think what's really happening is that people have become like this is one of the reasons why everyone's thinking has gotten like so retarded, is because there've been all these sort of attempts to just stop people from thinking clearly about stuff. And the internet
that's the point. When they call you a racist, you shut down. Or
or that, or like just there's a million of these like things. And after you've like spent a while like essentially like defragging your brain, and you then talk to someone who still has all of those like things like in place, and you just like, my God, you can't even finish like a coherent thought about any of these subjects at all. Like, you can just see like the spark fires and it gets like a couple of steps and then just like fizzes out. So the internet, I think, has been very, very good just debugging everyone's like brain fundamentally.
Well, a lot of people are accelerationists, which I understand. It's very trying times, very necessary. But also, you have to realize that like you're a part of history right now. This is very historical that so many of us are able to communicate with each other about this topic, and it's becoming, thanks to Nick Fuentes, more mainstream and more common. Joel Webbin saying this, and I'm not seeing article. Have you noticed that like the neocons took the place of the left right now in terms of criticizing the right? I don't even see what the left says anymore. I'm battling the neocons.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, the left has been roundly discredited because they're retards, and now who was it who said that? I think it was Nick actually who said that the soft right was always like using the hard left like to protect their flank to the right. Okay, that's why they were like, doxing people and letting the lefties like take care of them and stuff. And that's why they'd always debate the crazy leftists, but they'd never debate anyone.
The soft
from the
right.
further
Is their hair springy and their nose pokes you in the eye if they're 6 inches from your face? The soft right.
Yeah. The the neocons. It's like conservatism, but more mooish, basically.
I grew up in Southern California in a heavily multicultural area in the 1990s, and I remember just thinking that the conversation of racism was wild because it wasn't even a thing. And there was, I think, something about the 90s was there was some peak on a lot of dimensions, but there was also a lot of problems. One thing I want to bring back up to both of us or both of you here is, the monarchs that got together that said, hey, Germany and Austria, let's just say they wanted to get together and say, well, they're already pretty close peoples.
Right.
But let's just say that Arizona became its own nation, and a particular portion of northern Mexico said, hey, we're going to merge together. Again, I think that's possible. And over the next generation or 2 or 3 or 4, we're going to see this becoming a new ethnicity, essentially, together. That agreed upon merging is different than the projecting malicious immigration policies that we're dealing with today.
No one voted for what we're dealing with today.
Yeah. So what's happening to us is that it's being projected upon us at a degree of malicious intent.
Yes.
And not just at a foreign policy level, but as a media level. So you are seeing I always say that Friends from the 1990s and the early 2000s actually was 5 5 white people. I know one guy's a Jew, but 5 white people that are there, and there's not a black guy in the cast, and that's in 2003.
Right.
And so that wasn't that long ago. But what we have now is every TV show has an unrealistic reality.
It's
overrepresentation, and
which stokes division further.
Yes,
because it builds resentment.
Yes.
One of the last conversations I had with Charlie Kirk is that mayor of London is the devil, isn't he? He is demonic. We have Sadiq Khan, a Mohammedan, running the biggest capital in the West. We've got Shabnam Mahmood, a Mohammedan woman, as the Home Secretary of. Is
there a reason why he says a Mohammedan? Is that a rhetorical?
It's an old it's an old Christian name.
Oh, okay.
Right. So back before politically correct stuff, right? You call the Muslims the Mohammedans because they worship Muhammad. You call the Indians the Hindus, HINDOO, right? And they're cool. It's sort of a like if you go back to like the 1800s when there's things like the scramble for Africa and when like sort of Europe was just seriously contacting these like countries, the way they describe them is so freaking based. And they really try and delete this part of history because the whites rock up and all they're doing basically is like human sacrifice, raping all their kids, like horrible forms of like mutilation, all this kind of like stuff. And then, of course, the whites are like, well, maybe we should try and like civilize these people, which, some thought was a mistake. And now all of these cultures, they try and act like none of this crap happened, right? Like the Indians like burning their wives and all this kind of like stuff. Oh, no, that didn't happen. Yes, it did. It totally did. And it was the whites that stopped the worst of it.
I can't believe us. We should have just let it continue. I regret that we tried to help people. Okay.
See, universalism of Christianity. See, greatest weakness, also greatest strength.
I know, but could it be any other way?
Yeah.
Right.
Great Britain and Northern Ireland, like literally the person in charge of policing and immigration is an immigrant herself.
Also, when you think of the strengths and weaknesses of other popular religions, I think that's one of the better trade-offs. Okay. The trade-offs for other religions. Okay. Like, sure, we have universalism, and it helps us in a lot of ways. Like, what would the equivalent of that be for Islam? Sure, we rip the shit out of our women and make them dress in hot polyester in 117-degree heat.
Well, Islam has the same issue, right? Because Islam is fundamentally universalist, right? Except it's much more. It's much more kind of hardcore. Right? Like
you think?
Yeah, you have this idea of the Ummah, which is like the global brotherhood of every single Muslim. You can
universalism for Muslims.
You can trick people into joining Islam, right? Like the way you convert to become a Muslim is you just say the Shahada.
So mooey.
It doesn't matter if you understand it or not.
They always get along so well when they're not in the Middle East.
The Muslims. Well, again, which ones are you talking about? Are you talking about the Shia or the Sunni? Like, it's you know, personally, if I had to pick, it would have to be the Shia. At least they've got like a clerical class to like restrain them, right? The Sunni are basically like Muslim Protestants. Fucking, they think up like all kinds of crazy shit. ISIS is Sunni. It could only really be Sunni. The idea that the Shia would suddenly come up with this idea that we're going to like move into the middle of the desert and start sacrificing people is just ridiculous.
Well, you see where low IQ has a high correlation with violence. Like, you know, they think of stuff. I don't know how creative it is, right? At least the moves are creative.
That suicidal empathy has gone way beyond that point to murderous.
Calvin, what would Charlie say about us bombing Iran?
I don't. You know what? I had a phone call with Charlie's team last week, and I said to them, you know, if you're not asking for, well, they were asking for my advice, but I said not to give it unsolicitedly, but if I could advise one thing, it's stop saying what you think Charlie would do or what Charlie would say. Play his clips, put his words out, and then say what you think and what you would say. And that's the message I gave to Turning Point. So that's the message I'm going to give too. Like, we know what Charlie would think because we could see the clips. I personally think that the war in Iran is a massive mistake.
Yes.
And I wish there were more voices in the White House saying that. And I think if he was alive, he probably would be amongst those voices. But I don't want to attribute any words to him.
Yeah.
I think the conversation now is so around interracial marriage, around assimilation, is that it's forced. When I was just at the bank and I saw an ad that was like a white redhead with a black lady with a fro, with a Mexican guy and an Asian guy, all standing there laughing with ice cream cones.
Right.
And I mean, I've never seen this in reality. I mean, maybe you see this in like the most liberal neighborhoods of Los Angeles because they're all trying so hard to virtue signal with one another that they are demonstrating their own.
And they're all, in that case, very rare case, there's still the common denominator of class. They all happen to be millionaires in a gated community.
Yeah. Yes. So what I'm saying is that we need to, assimilation needs to be organic. It needs to be natural. It needs to be, I think Christianity needs to be at the top. Obviously, we know that as Christians that there's no marriage, there's no interfaith marriage permitted.
Right.
And so the conversation about assimilation is, yes, you need deportation. Yes, I think you also need remigration. And remigration is that these are, say, people that could stay as citizens. Kongmin Lee, right? He once told me in a conversation, he said, yeah, I'm thinking about moving back to Korea. And I said, oh, why? And he said, well, I was born here. He said, but I love my people.
Yes.
And he's Christian and he's a man. And I thought that is so awesome because.
Yeah, what I'm trying to find is like the my people feelings. You have to remember, I was positioning myself as a liberal, civic nationalist atheist at the beginning of our interaction. Okay. Do you know how new to this shit you have to be to call yourself that in this sphere? All right, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I think it's,
I'm trying to and I'm 40. You know how difficult it is to fucking change when you're 40?
Yeah.
Not easy.
Yeah,
right?
I do.
So,
but then again, on the other hand, right? Like when you've been around for a while, it's easier in the sense because you've seen all of the decisions that you make turn out terribly, or at least it was for me, right? Yeah. So you can't delude yourself that maybe
we're not here because everything. We're not here talking to each other because everything worked out. Okay?
Yeah,
the way we
precisely.
Everything went according to plan for me and you, wasn't it? Just
absolutely.
He was willing to say, I want to go Christianize my homeland.
Yes.
And so I think there's a group of people.
I'm still praying for Samuel Say to get that call to go and Christianize
go Christianize Ghana.
Yeah. Well, I love that journey for him.
I think it's a very noble thing to do for a particular man.
Right.
It's not something you must do, but I think it's something that there will be a group of people that might go, how about I go back to the homeland and Christianize it? So you have deportation, remigration, and then you have biblical assimilation, which really is the intentionality of transnationalism. And it's losing yourself within another ethnicity over generations. And you need to ask yourself the question, is that honoring to my father and mother?
Right.
These are questions that previous generations asked. And I'm not saying that it's a yes
because
or no.
the fifth commandment is real, to honor thy father and mother. And so theologically, in the way that this has to be co-discerned and weighed with wisdom carefully is, in some cases, I love America. I love these people and I love this place and I really want to be here. But I know that if the answer is to be here, it means true assimilation, which is to lose myself. And if to lose myself would be a breach in my case, because I come from a Christian heritage that may not have the same degree of prosperity. I like America because of its opulence and these kinds of certain comforts and conveniences, but I come from the people that aren't as wealthy. So it'd be easier to stay in the physical, the practical, the tangible. But I actually come from a rich heritage that is Christian. And so I can't when Ruth says, your people will be my people, your God, my God, she is by way of implication, by way of consequence saying, all my former gods are no longer God to me. And all my father's house and my people are no longer my people. And she could do that righteously because there was not a Christian contingent in Moab. Right. So she was not forsaking a Christian heritage. She was forsaking a pagan one.
Heritage, yeah.
Right. So the person who wants to stay here, many of them, despite wanting to stay, still have to go back because they've entered illegally or they've committed crimes or these kinds of things. So they've just been here for 15 minutes. But for those who have been.
Now, these things kill me. I would love to go to America, but I love it so much I would hate to ruin it indirectly by being there. We need a remigration
from the West.
Yeah, like, because I just logistically, even if you get rid of a bunch of people, like that's going to have downswing effects, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, right. So I don't know why there's not more advocacy for. There's people that want to stay in Europe, and I'm a man of solutions. Okay. There's going to be pro-whites, all white, sure, absolutely. Ain't always going to be. There's going to be some race mixing, but people that agree with us. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I don't want to kick them out. There's going to be yeah.
Sorry, I've said this a bunch of times. Like, you know, all the people who hate being in America and want to move to Europe. I'm like, well, you know, swap me your citizenship then. Like, I'll trade you my crappy citizenship for like America, and you can go and fucking like live in Europe to your heart's content and be among the, you know.
There's people that want to stay and fight. Okay, there's people that don't and are not going to. Okay, that's just a reality of what's going on. And if there's people that, but at the same time, it would be so valuable to have literally refugees. You would be I would consider you a refugee from Europe coming to live in the United States, because you would then be able to like speak and really, it would really accelerate the knowledge of what's happening. It would unify us a lot if we had an exchange program like that.
The whole immigration thing is heavily slanted towards the Browns. Like I've been looking into it, and like, really, oh, you've got no idea. There are like entire like immigration firms, like all they do is deal with like Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and stuff. Like they're very resistant to this idea of like of whites coming to America, right? They just want more Browns, more Browns, more Browns. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, what do you think happens if whites come here?
Well, exactly.
It's hard because, like, well, they're anti-white, so they can't be pro-white immigrant. That's why they bring in non-white immigrants, because then the non-white immigrants get here and they go, "Yeah, you can't be racist against me. This place is fair, and you can't say that about me." Doesn't quite work with the white immigrants. Testing $5. I'm back, biatches, and yes, you're welcome. Thank you. Finally.
Finally
it's returned. King Spectre, $5. Thank you. I'm still quite behind, but regarding Fist saying women used to be an economic drain, what do you mean by used to be? Fist, guest of my stream. Would you like to respond?
Yeah, you make a good point there, Spectre. I guess I meant before women joined the workforce, and you know we're capable of yassification and going out and like
yassification,
getting their own jobs. You know, that's what I meant. But yes, you make a good point.
Here a while, but have remained distinct and have not truly assimilated. They've married within their own class, within their own race, and these kinds of things for multiple generations and have not truly assimilated. They either have to say, I want to stay, in which case I'm willing to lose myself. Your people will be my people, your God, my God. And to answer that question and for it to be righteous, they would have to be able to look at their past heritage and where they came from, their ancestors came from, and be able to say, this would not actually be a breach of the fifth commandment, a dishonorment of my father and mother, because I am actually abandoning a non-Christian country. In the case,
you see how it takes some finessing to fit this ideology in biblically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a lot of like,
well, because okay, this is the thing, right? If Christianity had first been formed, okay, and Jesus and the apostles were like the only people that can join like, you know, people with like a strict bloodline, they would have been no different from the Pharisees. This is the point. This is why universalism is baked so deeply into Christianity, and it would never have taken off without that ability to assimilate different peoples. That's the problem. That's the that's the thing, right? It was the Pharisees who were incredibly restrictive, right? Oh, you can't come into the temple unless you're the son of this poison and the son of that poison, and right, like, and that was seen as like highly restrictive. So again, great strength, also a weakness.
Mm-hmm. I just got an incoming communication right now. And this is for the soundboard. I have not listened to it yet.
He is not always right. James Lindsay was wrong.
Oh my God. James Lindsay is not
Wait. Play that again.
James Lindsay is not always right. James Lindsay was wrong.
Surely not. How can this be so? Oh my God. Oh, is this the final? Like, Ardy, hold me. He's still right about 99.999% of like stuff. I feel like my whole world is shifting underneath me.
Nope,
Mate. My
he
God.
wasn't right one time. Ruins the whole thing.
Oh,
it's either all or nothing.
Oh, goodness me. How will I go? Did Patrick send that to you, did he?
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell.
Shout out to Patrick. Still watching the Lindsay clock.
He's so isn't Master Shake. Oh my dear Lord.
Oh, Master Shake, he's not being serious. Oh God, of course. Fucking
he is. I'm gonna lie about him. He's my enemy. I don't even consider him white. I'm lying about him. I don't care. I'm gonna say he was serious. He doesn't deserve the truth, okay? It's a just punishment. A liar gets lied about. Okay, well, I have to start trying to make myself tired so I can get up at 4:30 in the morning to catch a flight.
I hope you have a good flight, mate. Fly safe, and wherever.
Yeah, I hope so. Why would you hope I crash my fucking plane? What are you?
You're going to that CIA black site, right? To have a bit of a vacation, get your brainwashing like touched up, meet with our Mossad sponsors, right?
I'm going to Florida, okay? And I could tell everybody where I'm going to be, and they wouldn't know what I look like. There would be no way to identify me in person. It's my favorite part of this.
So Florida Man is taking a vacation, and you're stepping in briefly to be Florida Man. If I got that right?
I'm gonna end up on the news, and I'm gonna go. Actually, I want a retraction. That was Boston Man that did that. They go, you act like Florida Man. I go, I know. My mom did her best to raise me, and I just didn't listen to her. It's all my fault.
You're gonna wrestle alligators and do meth and hang out in the swamps, right?
No, I'm going to Clearwater, Florida, where there's a ton of beaches, and I'm gonna burn to a crisp, and I'm gonna cry about it when I'm back.
Nice.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Oh, that sounds great, man.
So Ardy and Fist will not be happening tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Okay. What's going to be happening instead, Fist?
Instead,
going to be happening.
Instead, it will be me and Aaron live from Zebulon 5 at the same time over on my channel.
Yes.
I'm still not sure what we're gonna do. I got to figure it out tomorrow. I mean, so fucking busy. I got all the links for
whatever you guys normally do.
Yeah, well, I've got all the links for what we would have been doing on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So we'll probably just do that and talk shit. You know how it's
just do
me and Aaron, right? We'll always find something to talk about.
Just do what you normally do, except now everyone's watching you as you're doing it. Okay, I don't know why that changes things.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. Come along, everyone. It'll be like great. Ardent, could you post my channel link in the chat?
Make sure you future date the stream so I can send out the link from my channel.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that tomorrow morning. I'll set it up. I'm still trying to think of a title.
Stare at you guys, not know what you're doing. Then
we'll do it live, right? I'll take a page from who was that guy who made that really famous quote? Fuck it, we'll do it live. I can see his face. Who?
Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly. Yes, we'll do a Bill O'Reilly.
Master Shake, $5. Thank you so much. Fly Spirit, and let's see if your views change. Oh, dude, I live near Mattapan, and we call it Murder Pan. Okay.
Didn't Spirit Airlines just fold? I thought Spirit is
they'd have to. Dude, they give you a price, and then as soon as you get there, they're like, "Oh, to step on the plane, it's an extra $20." Like they hit you with a bunch of fees at the airport. I don't know how anyone flies Spirit. It's not even that cheap. They hit you with fees once you're there. Dillweed, $5. Thank you so much. If you wanted to look at religion and ethnicity mixing arguments, the Balkans have a 2,000 year full of conflict and writers justifying everything.
Yeah.
That's
where you get the term balkanization from. Like literally.
Really?
Yeah. From the Balkans. Yeah.
What was the issue? Why can't
Christians and Muslims living side by side peacefully together and nothing bad ever happened?
Yeah. Let me ask you for something that requires a half an hour explanation at the end of the stream. Genius move, Ardy. Genius fucking move, fellas.
It doesn't require a half an hour explanation because Christians and Muslims like living together and everything was fine. That's literally it.
Okay, fellas, I am sending you to Rob Noor now. As is customary, for some reason, whenever I just got done talking about race, okay, I send you to Rob Noor for no good reason. Now, when I send you to Rob Noor, I can't control what you do. White people don't have a protocol for this, okay? Now, I just think it's funny if you go in there and tell him to not race mix. I think that's funny because he's not going to have any idea what you're talking about, but he's being sent live viewers, so he'll really take whatever you give him. Yeah, so I'm going to send you to Rob Noor and make him feel really uncomfortable because a bunch of people are going to show up all at the same time telling him to never race mix. So that's my normative advice for you. Fellas, have a fantastic night.
Good night, everyone.